Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the third part of What If Delu Had Blood Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Returning to the dorms, the students of 1A were all talking about the ensuing cook-off that most of them were very excited for. Remember guys, Tagaru said as he stepped off of the main path towards one of the gyms. The eating part is done after I knock these two around. Tetsu and Ijiro both grinned as they joined Tagaru on his path. This is gonna be fun as hell, the silver-haired teen stated. Ada, can you make sure they don't break each other? Momo looked at her co-leader. That would be wise. The engine user nodded as he followed the three teens. So what is everyone making? Denki asked the three students who were to compete. I don't know yet. I'm making yakitori, Katsuki answered. I figured everyone makes one dish. And then all of the combined counts as our dinner tonight. I'm making tempura, Suyu added with a smile. I'm already hungry, Denki responded. You're always hungry, Hiryu pointed out. It all sounds so good, Pony said happily. Everyone filtered into their own conversations, and Shoko took that as an opportunity to get Izuku's attention, being glad he was near the back of the group with her. Hi Todoroki, Izuku said as he turned to her. His face still had his on it, dried up at this point. Can we talk in private? The dual-haired girl asked. The clear-eyed teen nodded. Yes, Kiyotaka behind them raised an eyebrow. Those two didn't really interact much to his knowledge, except for the battle trials. What did the girl want with his target? The two teens had taken to the roof. A bit dramatic really, but it was somewhere where they wouldn't be bothered as easily, and Shoko didn't want them to be bothered. She really wanted to know how Izuku could live with those quirks and if it in any way could help her with her own situation. Izuku had sat on the edge of the building since he thought they might be up there for a minute, and he kind of liked the view, especially with the sun setting and making the sky look like different shades of orange and red. Shoko decided to sit next to him. What is it, Todoroki? How do you do it? She asked the question she had been meaning to ask him. Do what? He looked at her confused. Use your quirks. How are you able to stomach using them after everything that happened? She was afraid that he would have one of his panic attacks or get mad at her for even bringing up his dark past. Izuku looked at her. He felt that something was hidden about why she was asking, like she wasn't just curious about it for curiosity's sake. She looked like she needed to hear this for her own problem, which was something Izuku already made a promise to himself to help with however he could. I don't like it sometimes, the teen admitted. Sometimes I get flashes of him and his claws anytime I make a bone. Shoko frowned at that. I'm constantly afraid that I will turn into the weapon he wanted me to be. How do you move past it? I try to not use it like him. He had his bones only make claw fingers. I promised myself to never do that. Izuku felt something off while they were talking, like someone was listening. He didn't care at the moment to go investigate because Shoko was more important. Instead, he just spoke quieter. I used them to spite him. In spite, he wanted me to be a weapon of what he thought the world should be. I use all of the quirks at first to tear down his work. When I fought at the compound, I came here to train to be a hero and prevent people from being used like me, using the quirks he forced me to have. It helps that I separate myself from him like that. Shoko nodded. So separating how it is used is good. It helps me. The clear-eyed teen nodded. Having mom and dad's quirks help because I know they were good people. I'm afraid of using my left side, Shoko admitted. Izuku, who was on her left side, turned to look at her again. He wondered why her left side was bad to her. It's my father's side. The white and green-haired teen took a second to think it through. The name Todoroki sounded familiar. From a hero on the news he saw Rumi say was a dick to work with. Your father is Endeavor. The girl nodded. Yes, he isn't a good father. She seemed hesitant to speak now. You can tell me, Izuku said softly. But it seems so wrong to complain when I know what you went through. I'm still here to listen, Izuku stated. He felt that odd presence of someone eavesdropping leave. He was definitely going to mention it to All Might or Shota. One person's pain doesn't discredit someone else's. He gave her a small smile. I can listen. I want to listen. Shoko gave Izuku a small smile in return. Okay, alright guys, let's do this. Tagaru grinned as the two other teens stood across from him. Nothing too lethal guys, Tenya reminded them. Make dull blades if you can kamakiri. I can. It's actually easier to make dull blades over sharp ones anyways. We'll try to not hit anywhere unwanted. Tetsu let his steel cover him. Don't go easy turds. Tagaru got into a ready stance. Kind of weird to call us turds. Ijiro grinned despite the weird name. Alright go, Tenya announced the start. Tetsu and Tagaru rushed separate sides of their blade's classmate. They both went for a side hook to Tagaru's fave, and the insect-like kid made dull blades shoot out of his skin to intercept the blades, and he engaged Tetsu first, being more used to his fighting despite the two opponents of his having similar fighting styles. His fast reflexes managed to keep him from taking most of the hits the two threw at him. his quick blades acting as an excellent defense and counter for other attacks. Good shit, man. Ijiro grinned as a full blade was used on Togaru's leg to trip him. He has holes, Tetsu said as he raised his knee and made it impact Togaru's elbow, just enough to jar the insect-like teeth. Ijiro used the opening to take out Togaru's knee and send him to his back. The blade's teen, however, reacted with practiced ease and made a blade from his back that he used to pivot himself for a backflip to get to his feet. Ooh, that was nice. The redhead laughed as he looked at Togaru, taking lessons from Midoriya's book, improvising a little, but yeah. Togaru grinned as he rushed the two again. Hey, where is Midori? Mina said as two of the three kids had begun to cook food. He went upstairs earlier, Hiryu said while sitting upside down on a couch. He tossed it to Hanta. He might just be getting lessons from Gyro and lost track of time. Denki offered as he caught the tape user tossed to him. I'm right here, Kioka said from a table. He went upstairs with Todoroki. What? Mina whipped around to face the purple-haired girl. You're saying this now. Why does that matter? Ochako raised an eyebrow at the pink girl. Love expert senses are tingling, Mina shouted. Going up a staircase doesn't mean anything, Katsuki commented as he turned the oven top on. Disbeliever, Mina pointed an accusing finger at the blonde. Someone not love crazy, see where they are then. Hiryu shrugged. Katsuki's phone went off. He read the message he got, which was a small one from Izuku. Don't bother him. What was it? Something came up, so he isn't participating in the contest anymore. Katsuki was wondering what it was but continued with his cooking. Love senses are tingling. Shut up with that. Kyoka scowled. You and Tsunotori seem way too invested in his love life. You're just mad you aren't part of it. Mina stuck her tongue out at the girl. Or I think that there are better things to do than focus on his love life, says the girl who is going to teach him how to play bass. Pony narrowed her eyes. I think you just want us to not make any competition for you. I don't have any feelings for Midoriya like you two keep assuming. The earphone user stated. Would it distract you if I said I have a crush on someone? Hiryu offered as he tossed the again. Tell me who. Mina had moved across the room really fast to stand over the Chinese teen. Well, damn, that was fast. Hanta laughed. She teleported. Mishiro commented. It is my job as the love expert to treat all cases, even minor, with the utmost seriousness and care, the pink girl declared. Someone revoke her license, Katsuki said as he handed Tsuyu a cup. I'll revoke you. Mina pointed a finger at him. What does that even mean? The blonde asked with confusion. She'll take away your existence privileges. Hanta laughed. Don't think I won't. Mina went with what the tape user said. Izuku had done exactly what he said. He sat and listened while Shoko, for the first time ever, talked about her problems. He had learned how Shoko's father, Enji Todoroki, had treated her harshly from the second she was born. He learned how the man had pushed her hard to take his goal of exceeding all might and would abuse her on the way to push her harder and harder. How Shoko's mother was pushed to insanity by the abuse the man gave her and Shoko, which made Shoko's mother lash out uncontrollably at the girl upon seeing the left side of her which resembled her father. That the burn on Shoko's face was actually caused by her mother in that moment and that it was a frost burn. How Shoko had 3 older siblings she had never gotten to interact with at all because Enji had seen them failures and forbade them from interacting with Shoko when she was born, as he called it, gifted. She could control ice like her mother from her right side and fire from her left. How Shoko had intense hate for her father after all the torment he put her through, and it made her hate her left side and her fire. How spiteful she had become to want to prove him wrong and become string with only her ice just to shove it in her father's face when she could become the best without him or his power at all. I found out my oldest brother died, Shoko said quietly. Her eyes and face had become tear-stained after opening up about her problems, but she wasn't worried about it at all. The sympathy Izuku had been giving helped a lot. They said it was an accident, but they never found his body. I was there when my father found out. She grit her teeth. He didn't even shed a single tear. How do you hear about your first child die and not give any reaction? Izuku put his hand softly on her shoulder. Shoko wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, I'm just unloading this all on you. You have your own problems. Just because my life was bad doesn't mean yours doesn't matter as much, Izuku said. I honestly think an abusive parent is worse than what happened to me. I was only able to live through what I did because my parents' final moments kept pushing me on. Izuku started to tear up also when he thought about the compound. If my parents were like your father, I wouldn't have been able to last half as long as I did. Shoko looked at him with a scowl. You had it way worse than me. She couldn't believe he could just say his torture wasn't as bad as her father. We shouldn't compare pain like that. Izuku shook his head. That doesn't help it. The dual-quirked girl sighed. I'm sorry. I never opened up before. I never did. Izuku spoke. I was always afraid that I would get treated worse if I spoke about it. Everyone found my files and talked about them and what I went through, but I never got to just talk about it. Izuku paused. I feel bad because I can barely open up to Rumi. I'm afraid if I open up more she will find out how much I hid and blame herself. Shoko heard the hitch in his voice. Just thinking about hurting Rumi in any way clearly wasn't something Izuku didn't like to even consider. I'm sure she would understand. From what I could gather, Rumi sounds like a good person. She's the best. The clear-eyed teen nodded. I hate that I can't just talk more about it. It's just bottled up so much. You were here for me to open up. I can be here for you. Shoko tried to give that same helpful smile he gave her earlier. It's bad, the teen said. Just thinking about it all makes me feel like I'm there again. Me talking through what happened helped. The girl reassured him. She was sure that whatever happened was bad and it might bother her to hear, but he obviously just needed someone to just say it to. You might not look at me the same way anymore. The teen was afraid. I want to help, Shoko stated. She tried the smile again. Izuku had his own smile at those words. He nodded before he began to speak. Kiyotaka opened his phone and dialed the untraceable number again. His master picked up the phone. Akitmitsu, I assume you have news. The man spoke. You needed a person to corrupt also, right? The teen asked. I found someone who might be that one. 2 people actually. In one day. Who is this possibility? Shoko Todoroki, Kiyotaka answered. She seems to have an issue of her own and got Midoriya to actually talk about his own problems. The daughter of the number 2 hero would definitely be a blow to belief in heroes if she turned. Who is this other person? Katsuki Bakugo. He is hot-headed when it comes to any threat of any size to Midoriya. The amount of trust they already display with each other is big enough that if he falls or Midoriya falls, the other would definitely follow. The class is getting closer to Midoriya by the day as well. All for One was quiet on the other line as he thought. This will only make my successor's plan that much more effective when he strikes. The stronger his toes are will only make this that much more of a fall. Are there any other developments? He has had pains that disable his quirks. It caused All Might to panic. All for One laughed. That fool has another connection I can destroy. This is wonderful. Keep us updated on more developments. Yes, master. The teen nodded and heard the man cut the line. I really want to know what Midoriya is doing now, to be honest. You caught the one. Jiro, who had returned along with Tetsu and Tagaru, tossed it to him. Tagaru had lost against his 2 classmates because they were able to overwhelm him after a few minutes, but it was a close call. If we need to know, he will tell us, Tagaru said as he looked in a magazine about insects. The guy doesn't seem to hide much. Someone who does hide shit is Akitmitsu, Tetsu stated. I don't like him. To be fair, I don't think he likes you. Denki caught the dude. He doesn't like any of us. He is kinda just here, Hanta stated. Why try to be in the hero course when you can't be a friendly face to classmates? You asked. Especially some of us, Mina said. Some of us are pretty fun to be around. Like the Wonder Twins. Tagaru pointed to Tetsu and Ijiro. And Tweedledum. He pointed at Hanta and Denki. I wanna be Tweedledee. Hanta chuckled. Why am I Tweedledum? The electric blonde asked. Doesn't your electricity short-circuit your brain if you use it too much and make you momentarily stupid? Pony asked. Momentarily implies he isn't always stupid, Kioka commented. That's bullying, ma'am, and I will cry. Denki pointed at the girl. I am not above it. Do you at least know where Midoriya is? Bakugo Tenya asked. He just wanted to make sure the teen was close enough to them if he did need them. He didn't say, Katsuki answered. He just said he would be busy for a while. That means it's just me and Sue for the cook-off. If it's yakitori versus tempura, I gotta go with tempura, Pony said from her seat. No picking sides before you eat, Katsuki stated. Just upset she chose the other dish, Mina said. No, just remain unbiased before a decision like this, Katsuki replied. I like yakitori, Suyu said as she watched her food. Should we wait for the other 3 before we do this? Tagaru asked as he closed his magazine. Akitmitsu doesn't really try to be part of the class, so forget him, Tetsu said. Midoriya is busy. I dunno about Todoroki. She went upstairs a while ago. Denki threw the to Hiryu, who wasn't paying attention and got nailed in the face, but caught the still. I can check if she is interested, Momo said as she went up the stairs. Todoroki's cute, Denki said. Think she would be interested in me? Nah, Hanta shook his head. You're just gonna hit on any girl who breathes, aren't you? Tagaru asked. Hey, I have poor aim, so if I want to shoot my shot and have it hit, I gotta shoot a lot. Mina whacked Denki on the nose with Tagaru's magazine. No touching Todoroki. I am gonna set her up with Midori. You're really gonna push that, aren't you? Achako asked. I saw chemistry, the pink girl stated firmly. Who knew 2 people fighting in a practice class makes for chemistry? Katsuki washed his hands. You disbelieve a lot, which is hypercritical when you have been showing chemistry this whole time. With who? The blonde gave her a look. You know exactly what I am talking about, and I will get to that whole situation after Midori and Todoroki. PFFD okay. Katsuki rolled his eyes as he started to grab plates for the food, Suyu helping him. Katsuki legitimately didn't know what chemistry the acidic girl was talking about, which was a testament to how dense he was in those types of matters. Shoko was shocked as an understatement. She knew she would hear some disturbing things about what happened to the teen next to her, but some of it was just she was even more amazed by Izuku now with his ability to just carry on as he did. The most disturbing part she had heard was when he had first gained the 3 quirks that made his Shiketsumayaku and how it made itself known. That incident alone was responsible for a lot of his scars. Instead of her fear or disgust of Izuku growing like the boy feared, she only gained respect for him. Izuku stopped after a bit, not able to say anything else at the moment. He turned to Shoko. You aren't disgusted by my past. I'm disgusted by that man, but not you. The girl stated. He was a jerk. Your dad is a jerk. Izuku replied. Shoko snorted. He is. Do you ever want to see your mom again? Izuku asked after a minute of quiet. I don't know. The girl admitted. She gave me this ugly scar, but it was because of my father. I don't think the scar is ugly, the clear-eyed teen said. What? She gave Izuku a look. Did he really not find her large frost burn ugly? She was always self-conscious about it, so him saying something exactly the opposite of what she believed was off-putting. I think it shows that you are strong, the boy replied. It also makes your eyes stand out more. My eye? Why would he bring up her eye? Your eyes are kind of pretty, Izuku admitted, his face heating up. Shoko's face turned red as well. Did he really think that your eyes are appealing also? It was Izuku's turn to turn as red as Shoko's hair. I couldn't find Todoroki, Momo said as she came down the stairs to the commons. She wasn't in her room. Tenya raised an eyebrow. If she was, she didn't respond to me knocking, the female class leader said as she sat down next to Tenya. Maybe they are both somewhere together, Huryu suggested, not doing whatever Mina is about to say. Say what now? The pink girl looked up from the insect magazine she had borrowed from Tagaru, who had a lot more to read anyways. She wasn't even listening. Kioka laughed. To what? The acidic girl asked. No one say anything, Denki said. I'll fight you, Mina threatened. No fighting, Tenya and Momo said at the exact same time. You guys keep getting mom and dad mad at us, Hanta said. When did we become mom and dad? Tenya asked. You guys are the two most responsible here, Denki shrugged. Gonna act like all of us are immature, okay? Huryu said. Komori, Asui, Uraraka, Ajiro and Takoyami don't cause any issues, so they aren't immature. I feel like you left out a few people, Katsuki stated. You aren't getting in that group that easy. Denki pointed at Katsuki. You're one of us. I know. I mean people like Rin, Izuku and Todoroki. Why are you leaving quite a few of us out? Hanta asked. Okay, I'll go down the list then. He pointed at Denki. Perv and idiot. He pointed in Kioka. Assaults the pervy idiot. He pointed at Hanta. Idiot. He then pointed at Mina and Pony. Love experts. He then pointed at himself. Tagaru and Tetsu. Aggressive as all hell. He then pointed at Ijiro. Part of the aggressive team even though he doesn't initiate. And Akitmitsu I don't care about. Fair assessment. Hanta nodded. Although idiot might be a bit nice. That's bad for you. You do know that, right? Mina gave the tape user a look. Hey, I got the title of class clown. And now roll with it. Wait, so being love experts makes us immature? Mina and Pony both looked offended. Well, you are being a bit weird about it. Huryu shrugged. Wait, so I'm class perv? Denki asked. Dude, you called Midoriya's caretaker hot when he first mentioned her being Mirko. Tagaru pointed out. Aw, that's fair. Plus you did say that thing about shooting your shit with as many girls as you could. Huryu added. That's more of a not being able to get a date kinda thing. The electric blonde pointed out. I find it funny that his three are all labeled aggressive and no one is arguing that. Tetsu chuckled. Well, you three do act aggressive. Mashiro nodded. Especially when the other students mess with Midori like at all. Them, Tagaru proved their point. Those people are dumbasses. He's a good guy. I just want to know where he is right now. Pony frowned. After a while Shoko and Izuku began to talk about lighter topics. They had gotten to dreams and Shoko stopped for a second. I don't know what my goal is anymore, the girl said. Up until now it was use my ice to spite my father, but after this all it just seems petty. What do you really want? Izuku asked. I was always inspired by All Might. He saves everyone with a smile no matter how bad everything is. The girl answered. Like my dad. Izuku nodded. All Might was well known. Heck, he was the most known and beloved hero for his famous smile. I guess I would like to be like that. Someone who can make others feel safe. That's a good goal. The clear-eyed teen nodded. Mine is to prevent others from going through what I did. That is also a good path. They were both quiet for a bit before Shoko broke the silence. I want to see my mom and siblings. Do you know where they are? Izuku asked. No, she gained a sad look. I'm sure the teachers might. The green and white-haired boy offered. All Might know because of his connections. Or UA. Might because of connections. I'm worried though, Shoko said. What if they only see my father's side? It's not his, Izuku said. You don't have your mother's side or your father's. It's all you. Shoko liked that thought. It's also not his bones you have. Those are all you, Shoko said. Izuku let those words sink in, smiling as they did. Well, I think it is safe to say I like tempura more than yakitori now, Kioka said as the class ate their food. Yay, it's good, all right. It's good, but man, Bakugo, you know your seasoning. Ijiro liked the yakitori more. The chicken just spoke to him. If it was me, that seasoning would be like 10 times spicier, Katsuki stated. Spiciness is good. That helps your explosions, doesn't it? Momo asked. Yay, makes me sweat more and makes my glands expand. Better sweat glands means better explosions. The blonde nodded. I need iron for my quirk, Tetsu stated as he ate. Stuff is what makes my quirk do its thing. Who else needs certain foods for their quirks? Ochako asked. I actually drink a lot of orange juice as fuel for my quirk, Tenya stated. I don't necessarily need it, but mushrooms are good. Kanoko spoke up for the first time in a few hours. I ate electricity earlier, Denki said. You did what now? Hurry looked at the electric blonde. I put my phone charger in the wall and in my mouth, Denki explained. I can store up extra electricity like that. Is that what you were doing? Hanta asked. I thought you were just weird and had your phone in your mouth. I hate that. That sounds like something I would do. The electric blonde laughed. Do it? Hanta egged him on. Your phone is too big for your mouth. Kioka pointed at the device on the table. Bold of you to assume stupid has limits. Denki smirked. Yeah, us idiots know no limits. Hanta added firmly. I feel like getting dumb to achieve that power. Katsuki joked. Please don't, Sue said from next to him. I enjoy having a smart person in the kitchen with me. Got it. The explosive blonde nodded. Can't let my yakitori be wasted. It's really good. Suyu gave him a smile. Honestly, your tempura kicks my yakitori's ass, so you win. I acknowledge defeat. Hey no, Tetsu said. This is a class decision. Too late, I choose to withdraw. Katsuki said. No, let a fair winner be placed. The frog girl said. This is pretty fair to me. The blonde shrugged. Chemistry. A certain pink girl muttered as she narrowed her eyes at the two. At that moment, Izuku and Shoko both came down the stairs. Everyone saw them. Hey guys, Pony shouted a bit too loud. Where have you been? Talking. Both of them said at almost the same time. Well, we kinda did most of the stuff already. Katsuki indicated to the plates of food. We were actually going to vote on the winner now, Momo said as she noticed how it looked like both of the teens had cried recently, as well as Izuku still not having washed his off of his face. She wanted to ask about the red eyes but felt like it would be wrong to do in front of the whole class. You guys can grab a plate and join us, Suyu offered. We actually wanted to ask if it was alright if we go spar after we talk to a teacher, Shoko said as she looked at Tenya. The male class leader looked to his collator, who nodded. That's fine. Please return before curfew, you guys. Okay. Both of them nodded as they left. So are we gonna talk about those two being gone, returning at the same time, both standing close to each other and just about everything that just happened? Hanta asked. I was right, Mina clapped happily. Chemistry. In the main building, Izuku and Shoko went to their classroom to see if Shoto was still there. It was a long shot, but luckily for them he was literally right outside of the classroom talking to another staff member, the pro hero Midnight. Shoto, you're coming with us tonight, Nimuri said. We're gonna get you a date because you can't spend every day at home with your cats. I am fine like that. No, you need a date. Why? The man sighed. You're 30 and haven't been on a date since you were 25. By choice. Terrible choice. Shota saw two of his students out of the side of his eye and was glad for the interruption. Hello, Todoroki and Midoriya. This isn't over, Nimuri said to Shota before she walked away. What do you two need? The man asked as he looked at two of his quieter students. Is there a chance Yue knows where my family is? Shoko asked her question. Shota gained a small look of confusion when she asked that. Did she not know where her family was? Did this have anything to do with the dilemma she seemed to have the other day? I wouldn't doubt it if we did. Can I know where my siblings are? I can talk to Nezu and find out where they are. The man nodded. I will let you know tomorrow before class if we do find out tonight. Thank you, Izuwe-sensei. The dual hair-colored girl replied. Is there anything else you need? Shota saw the look Izuku had. I don't trust someone, Izuku stated. The man raised an eyebrow to the teen. You don't trust someone? Someone was spying on us, the teen explained. I don't know exactly who, but someone is spying on either me or Todoroki. Shota knew Izuku wouldn't say that if it was just a teen being nosy. The boy legitimately thought someone was doing more than just being curious. I will look into it. Try not to give tells that you are aware of someone watching if you could, unless you can directly expose them. Both teens nodded. Is it okay if we use the gyms for a spar? Yes. I trust you two to follow the rules. Try to get back to the dorms before curfew. The two teens nodded again and left. Shota decided not make a stop at the principal's office before he went home. Shota entered the office to see Nezu still doing paperwork. The mouse-like principal looked up. Aizawa, this is a surprise. He didn't see the tired teacher of 1A much because the man didn't really interact with people willingly. I have two things, Shota said as he sat down. Midoriya is worried about him or Todoroki being spied on. It's him saying this, so I believe this should be taken more seriously than necessary. Nezu nodded. I was hoping he would be safe on school grounds, truth be told. If someone is spying on another here at a level that you suspect, it would be Midoriya that is targeted. I will definitely make sure this is handled to the best of our abilities. Shota gave a smile, which was something Nezu noted. What was the second thing? Todoroki says she wants to know where her siblings are. I don't know what her family's situation is, but we should let her know where her siblings are. It shouldn't be too hard. The mouse nodded. but this does make me question her family's situation. I believe we should look into that as well. I agree with that. Izuku opened the door to the large gym known as Gym Gamma. It was a large building that had just the one room that could fit all of the main building of UA. In it, the lights were already on and the 2 students saw 3 people already there. The 3 students looking like they had just finished their own training. The first older student to react to the 2 newcomers was a large muscular blonde guy with a rather cartoonish face with large blue eyes and an ever-present smile. Hello, he waved to them. It's rare to see 2 first-years training this early on in the year here. Your hair is pretty, another one of the older students said as she ran a finger through Shoko's long white hair. This older student had periwinkle hair that was long enough to reach her knees and bright blue eyes. You dye it, she asked as she touched the red half of Shoko's hair. It's natural, the ice and fire girl replied, slightly confused. What brings you first years here? The first teen asked, looking at Izuku while trying to figure out why the younger boy looked familiar. The third older student wasn't speaking to them, mostly because he doesn't really like attention. He had dark blue messy hair and was standing behind the blonde in a way that made it seem like he was hiding. We wanted to practice our quirks, the clear ed teen responded. That's great, the blonde's smile got bigger. It's nice to see others with drive. Are you 2 related? The blue-haired girl asked as she pointed at Izuku's green and white hair. No, both of the younger students shook their heads. Coincidence, that's so cool, the older girl stated with her own smile. I'm Murio Tagata. The blonde student held out his hand to Izuku. The clear ed teen didn't want to be rude, so he shook the hand. Izuku Midoriya. Your scarf is pretty, Midoriya, the blue-haired girl said as she put out her own hand. I'm Nejair Hato. The 2 upperclassmen looked at Shoko, who took that as the signal for her to introduce herself. Shoko Todoroki. This is Tamaki Amajiki. Murio stepped aside to let the 2 younger teens see the said teen, who made a weak smile. May I ask why you seem familiar, Midoriya? I'm the clear ed boy, Izuku answered. Murio's eyebrows rose. You're what? He asked out of confusion, like he didn't know what that meant at all. Murio, he is Spitfire's son, the boy with multiple quirks, Tamaki explained. Murio gained a look of intense concentration for a few seconds. Oh, Izuku was waiting for the teens to now try to give comfort or start treating him like everyone else did, like he was a ticking time bomb. Your father has some old gear here in the support department, you know, Murio asked, which confused Izuku because that wasn't what he expected. Oh, is that the gauntlet thingy I saw earlier? Nejair asked. Yes, the clear ed teen nodded. I brought that in to get fixed. That's awesome, Murio gave a thumbs up. Getting support gear early on can make you more of an expert with them. Why is your hair 2 different colors? Nejair asked both of them, clearly in her own conversation. My quirk, Shoko answered. How about you? Nejair looked at Izuku. Also my quirk, the boy answered. Guys, we should let them get to their training, Tamaki stated. Right, Murio nodded hard. We can't distract you from your hard work. The 3 upperclassmen began to leave. Nice meeting you too. Bye, the blue-haired girl waved. Now it was just Shoko and Izuku in the spacious gym. The clear ed teen looked to the girl next to him. Are you okay using it? She nodded. Like you said, it's not his, it's mine. She rolled up her left sleeve. I am worried though because I have no practice with it at all. He never forced you to use it at all. He would yell at me or say it's just me going through a rebellious phase, Shoko stated. I haven't used it in years. I only started using my flame breath a week ago. I'm sure you will do better than me. You should have resistance to your flames and you do have your ice also. Shoko hesitated to ignite her flames, still uneasy about using the flames. She looked at Izuku and the teen had a supportive smile when he noticed how hesitant she was. The look helped and she ignited her flames for the first time in years, the flames coating her left hand and forearm. It was odd to have the flames there. They didn't burn her at all because she has a higher resistance to flames because of her quirk. She moved her hand around before holding it straight out away from her and Izuku. The flames increased and were sent out in a stream, much like when Izuku had used his father's glove during the battle trials. I don't know what to do now, the girl asked it like a question, hoping the other teen would have advice. Izuku gained a look of thought. If you can manipulate your ice and waves, couldn't you do that with your fire as well? To me it makes a little sense that you can. I can try. Before she could, Izuku popped a straight pole-like bone from his arm. Try coating this with the flames. Izuku handed the bone to her. It didn't decay rapidly once the boy let go of it, and Shoko noticed that. Why isn't it decaying like all the other bones? The girl asked as she held it. Every bone the boy had would always disintegrate into nothingness out of his reach. Why wasn't this? I can make them stay active longer if I focus more bone material to them, the clear ed teen explained. Doesn't that hurt? She didn't want him hurting himself at all, especially after knowing some of the truth of what he endured. Only a little bit, the boy answered. It's worth it to help you. Shoko smiled. She let her fire coat her forearm again and moved the flames like she would with her ice, watching as the flames began to coat the bone. It moves just like the ice. I mean the way I make it move. Can you manipulate ice into objects like making a staff or baton of your own to fight with? If you can with ice, then maybe your flames too. Izuku offered the idea. The girl made a staff of ice form in her right hand. It wasn't smooth and perfect, but as a first try it was amazing enough. But I should practice that more before I use it. She felt the bones start to burn away under her flames that were getting stronger as they stayed active. Shoko looked at the boy who has been immensely helpful to her. Isn't there something you could use help with? I feel like we shouldn't focus on me. I'm fine helping you, Izuku replied. My father's flames are okay and all I need is to help my resistance to harming myself with it. Shoko still wanted to help Izuku in any way with his quirk. What about your bone layer, the one you keep underneath your skin? The green and white-haired teen raised an eyebrow. What about it? Your bones aren't as easy to burn, this one at least. She shook the half-burnt one in her hand as she extinguished her flames. If the flames start in your throat, you could use that bone layer to manipulate where on you the flames come out. Izuku nodded. That's actually smart. The teen attempted it, making a thin pipe-like path of bones from his throat out through his shoulder. Using flame breath, they both saw the flames shoot out of the bone. This changes the way I can use the quirk. How strong is your telekinesis? I can lift up and move objects or just manipulate anything within 5 meters of me, but only one object at a time. Does it give you like a field of sense for objects around you, or do you have to be looking at the object? It has to be within sight of my eyes. Moving my arms like I am moving the object actually helps. That would be helpful if you throw a bone object at someone. It would be unexpected and you can yank the object back to you. It could be. Izuku shuffled on his feet. Is your fighting style primarily you just sending ice attacks after ice attacks at people but staying mostly in the same spot? Kinda. Shoko turned the slightest bit of red in embarrassment. Up until this class I never ran into anyone who could and did make that an issue for me. I can help you make another style for people who make your normal one difficult. It can incorporate making ice and fire attacks into it. I am actually decent at this one style I spent a little bit on. It is based around staying mobile and using my palms, elbows, knees and feet as points of striking. It is meant for being mobile and I only glanced it for the most part. I think I actually know that, Izuku admitted. I learned it from Uncle Yawara. Izuku slid his feet out of his wooden sandals. I can help you get used to it. I'd like that. Shoko nodded as they began to go through the stances. A few hours later in the commons, Kioka was tuning her own bass guitar in the commons. Katsuki was playing chess poorly against Tsuyu, who found it a little amusing how the blonde wasn't one for patience but was trying just for the game. He was good enough at chess, but his impatience was costing him a little. Izuku was supposed to get his first lesson tonight, Kioka said as she finished tuning her guitar. He seemed busy. Handa tossed his to Tetsu. Yeah, him and Todoroki looked like they were talking about heavy stuff. Tagaru flipped the page in his magazine. They said they wanted to spar, so maybe they talked about chemistry. Mina cut him off. Ashido, you don't know that. Tsuyu moved her knight to take one of Katsuki's rooks. Maybe they talked about fighting tips because they did go against each other today in the battle trials, then decided to spar to test them. He wouldn't drop out of the cook-off for sparring tips. Hanta caught that was tossed to him. If it concerns us, Izuku will say whatever it is. He doesn't seem to be one to hide things. Katsuki moved his bishop across the board and took Tsuyu's knight. Izuku and Shoko both came through the doors at that moment. Hello. Izuku greeted the class as they all saw the two. Hey, you're back. Tetsu missed catching the and had it smack his face, which made Huryu and Pony next to him bust out laughing. Sorry I didn't do the cook-off, Izuku said as he went to the kitchen. He decided to make a late meal for him and Shoko and decided to make cold soba since Shoko liked it. Hey, it's cool, man, Katsuki responded. Sue won, by the way. So what were you two doing? Mina asked as she took a seat at the counter separating end kitchen area from the rest of the commons. Sparring, Shoko said from her spot at a table close by. We had ideas to help each other, Izuku said as he grabbed the necessary parts of the soba. I meant before that, Mina replied. Before you both left the commons, we were talking, Shoko answered, which made the pink girl turn to Katsuki with a smug look. It was a good talk, I assume. Mina asked another question. Yes, Izuku and Shoko both nodded, which only made Mina give Katsuki another much more smug look. Midoriya. Todoroki Tenya had come around the corner from the garden and saw the two. You are back already. We got tired. Izuku nodded. Training hard is good, but make sure to not overwork yourselves. Okay, Izuku responded while Shoko nodded. Recovery girl knocked on Nezu's door and entered the quirked animal's office. She saw Shota there also, which was actually good because what she had to say affected one of his students. Hello Nezu, Aizawa. The aged woman smiled. I am calling a specialist for little Midoriya. About his mind pains, Nezu asked. Yes, she is young, but from what I heard she has quite a useful quirk for this and is nice enough that he shouldn't be uncomfortable. Who is this lady? Nezu asked. He wanted to do a checkup, which was putting his search for the Todoroki siblings on hold for just a bit. Her name is Fayumi Todoroki. The next morning, the whole class had gathered downstairs for breakfast, Momo and Tenya preparing it this time. They both said the class can't just expect Tsuyu, Katsuki, and Izuku to cook every time a meal was meant to be prepared. So how was practice last night? Ijiro asked Izuku from another table. The tables had shifted slightly, with Shoko and Kioka taking Ijiro and Pony's spot while those two sat at another table with Tetsu and Tagaru. Ijiro was interested in the base lessons he did do last night after everything else. Midoriya is actually not that bad, Kioka answered. He picks things up easily. Soon we'll have a great band, Katsuki stated. Can I be a backup dancer? Denki joked. I got the legs for it. Bro, no you don't. Hanta made a face. Noodle legs. Language, Momo lectured. Do you think if I say Japanese to her the next time she says that she'll throw something at me? Hanta asked Denki. I will throw an encyclopedia at you. Momo didn't miss a beat saying that. Dude, I wanna see that. Denki snorted. Her super move is eating a textbook at your face. Ijiro laughed. What's your super move? Pony asked. Does anyone actually have super moves yet? Mina asked. My dances. Izuku spoke up. That counts. Hiryu nodded. I send out a large heartbeat pulse. Kioka added. It makes me dizzy. I have a move I call howitzer impact. Katsuki stated. It's highly destructive. My Recipro burst is a super move. You're what now? Hiryu asked. Recipro burst. I kick my engines into their highest gear and beyond that for a few seconds to take a huge burst of speed, a kick using that is really powerful. The male leader of the class talked about his move with pride. We should ask Izuku-sensei about making super moves, Pony said. Not even just solo ones, we could do duo moves. That sounds cool as hell, Tetsu grinned. All of our styles combined are deadly as hell. Class starts in 30. Maybe he is there early, Katsuki said. Wait, so we went from 20 minutes to half an hour early? Denki asked. Why not? Izuku-sensei is cool and he is a good teacher. Tetsu shrugged. Plus more time to train with some guidance. He might have something for us during homeroom today, Mina said. Well, either way, I already want to see if he is there for super moves. Katsuki got up. I am going too. Tenya got up also. Izuku got up as well to follow them, and so did most of the class. Entering the classroom, the students all were surprised to see a giant yellow sleeping bag behind the desk, with their teacher in it. Aizawa-sensei. Tenya decided to be the one to speak. The man groaned to show he was awake but didn't open his eyes. It's still a bit till class starts, but we were wondering about super moves. Shota opened his eyes and got up. Super moves, he liked his class just that much more for that. Super moves normally don't start until after the first semester, and first years rarely even think to ask about them, but this class wanted them on day 3. I can help with that. Awesome. Ijiro and Tetsu pumped their fists. Nice. Katsuki nodded. When will we be doing that? Hiryu asked. Well, today is the day you were all supposed to vote for a class rep and vice rep. But as a class you all already did that. Yeida and Yayarazu. Hanta gave a chuckle. We kinda work ahead. Achako laughed. They can decide who is primary and vice reps. We have a lot more time this evening, so if you really want to work on this, I can make a call to Ectoplasm so you have his clones to test them on. He will be helpful in this as well since he helps a lot of students make super moves. But this will all happen after your normal classes. Shota began to pull out some papers. Everyone can sit down for now, but I need Todoroki and Midoriya to come to my desk. The two named teens approached his desk and the man slid them both separate papers that had room numbers on them. Todoroki, we did do some research into what you requested. If you want it to be a surprise about who exactly, then they are there. One of my siblings, Shoko, had a surprised look as she held the card that would act as a hall pass. Yes, Midoriya. Recovery girl asked for a specialist to help you with your mental problems. She said she believes your trauma has affected your head pains and the quirks. The specialist will be here in that room in a bit. I figured you would like to get the awkward meeting knocked out as soon as possible. I would like that. Izuku nodded as he held his own card, which was only a room away from Shoko's. Homeroom is still extended today, and you guys are a bit earlier than all the other classes, so you should have more than enough time for your own things. Shota finished. Thank you, Izuku-sensei, Shoko said with a bit of happiness as she walked out of the class. Izuku followed without saying anything. The two walked down the hall together, seeing as how they both were going the same way. Do you want it to be a particular sibling? The clear ed teen asked. I don't remember them as well. I can't pick one. I am just happy to get to see my family for the first time in years. Shoko had a small smile that wouldn't leave her face. How about you? You have a specialist to help with your head pains. It will be nice to not be afraid of it happening around people, Izuku replied. Or making you fall down the side of a building, Shoko said. She really wasn't thrilled the night before when she learned properly what actually happened to him during the battle trials. I don't want to repeat that. It was unpleasant. They both arrived at the two rooms. Hope you do well with your sibling. Izuku entered his own waiting room. Shoko entered the room and saw her older sister, Fayumi Todoroki. The older woman smiling at her little sister. Fayumi had turquoise eyes, white, shoulder-length hair, flecked with a few noticeable traces of a crimson. She wore a white dress shirt with a plain grayish peach-colored cardigan, along with navy blue jeans. She also had brown dress shoes and a pair of red-framed rectangular glasses. Fayumi didn't hesitate to hold her sister in a hug. She didn't speak for a second. "Hey Shoko." "Hi." Shoko was smiling, happy to see her older sister. She didn't know really what to do though and hugged back kind of awkwardly. "How have you been?" Fayumi separated from her sister to look at her. "I have been better since I stopped living at home." "Father is still bad?" Fayumi asked with a sigh. She was hoping that man would get a change of heart, and so far he had not changed at all. The last time she saw him was a year before that. "Endeavor is a jerk." Shoko repeated Izuku's words from the day before. "I'm glad I am not there anymore." "So he doesn't know I am here?" Fayumi was completely aware of the ban Endeavor had about the siblings interacting with Shoko. However, she also didn't care because this was her little sister. "No, I don't want him here anyways." Shoko asked a question she was curious about. "Do you know where my big brother is?" "I do. He is actually here in Musutafu, but he is in law school." "Why?" "He stated he wanted to know as much as he can to take down father." Fayumi, while not particularly enthused about Natsu's goal to take down their father, did understand why he had it. "I'm sure that if he knew you were here he would drop everything to be here." "Can I meet him too?" "I can ask him at any point. We stay in contact." "What do you do?" Shoko wanted to learn as much as she can about her older sister. "I'm actually a therapist. My quirk is really helpful for helping others with mind or emotional problems, so I became one." She didn't want to also admit that she did that because she was sure that Shoko would need one after Endeavor was exposed and she didn't have to deal with his harsh ways anymore. "What is your quirk?" Shoko figured it would be something like ice or fire, since that was what their parents had. "I can actually see people's memories and such. I call it empathy. I can feel their pain and emotions. It's like sharing their pain with them." After father discarded me saying my quirk was useless as a hero, I decided to ignore his words and help people as best I can. "Are you Izuku's specialist?" Shoko asked. It would make sense if she was. Fayumi was surprised that Shoko knew Midoriya and was on a first-name basis with him. "I actually am. Do you know him? We're in the same class. He helped me with some issues yesterday. He is the reason I actually got to the point of wanting to meet my siblings," Shoko admitted. The older Todoroki was happy to hear that someone here had managed to get past Shoko's cold exterior. "He sounds like a good friend." Fayumi was surprised to see a light blush on Shoko. "He is nice." When Izuku entered his waiting room, he saw Recovery Girl sitting at the table. "Hello, dearie." The aged doctor had a smile. "How are you today?" "Okay." Izuku sat down on an opposite side of the table. "I was the one who called a specialist for you, Midoriya. I felt that there was a link between your trauma and the head pains that we could investigate and neutralize." "So it is emotion-based?" Izuku didn't know if it was emotion-based because it kept affecting him physically. "It might be possible. You do have a unique case with your," Recovery Girl stated. "Who is the person?" "It's this sweet young lady named Fayumi Todoroki, Shoko's sister." "Yes." Izuku realized that that means that Shoko being in the other room was her getting to see her older sister, which made him happy. "Does she know about me?" Recovery Girl nodded. "She does." She was eager to help. "Okay." Izuku went to sitting there quietly, which didn't bother Recovery Girl. The woman checking her paperwork in silence, but keeping an eye on Izuku in case anything happened to him. After a while there was a knock at the door. "You can come in." Recovery Girl responded to the knock. A woman came in that looked to Izuku like she would be related to Shoko. The woman had white hair speckled with crimson and similar turquoise eyes. She immediately introduced herself to Izuku. "Hello Midoriya, I am Fayumi Todoroki." "Hello." Izuku responded. "I'm here to see if my quirk could help you with your problem of your head pains, as well as anything else." "Like a therapist?" "Like a therapist." Fayumi nodded with a reassuring smile as she sat down on the opposite side of the table from the Clear Ed team. "How does your quirk work?" "I have physical contact with you as well as eye contact. It lets me see memories and such while sharing your pain. I can possibly find the source of your head pains." "Wait, you'll feel my pain?" Izuku actually scooted away because he didn't want that. "I would feel it at a smaller level, about 2/3 of the real thing." "No." Izuku shook his head hard. "I don't want you to go through it." Fayumi frowned. "Midoriya, it's okay." "No, I don't want anyone else suffering." "Midoriya, sometimes to help someone you have to understand their pain." "I want to help you." "I don't want it." Fayumi had some people who did act like this. They didn't want others to deal with their pain because it was too painful for them. "I promise I will be okay. I want to help make sure people who had hardship can stand after it." Izuku wanted to argue hard still, but he did understand why she did what she did. "Okay, if you want us to stop at any point we will," Fayumi stated. "Why is Miss Recovery Girl here though?" Izuku asked. "I'm here as a safety precaution," the doctor answered. "Because my quirk can take physical tolls on us both." Both Izuku panicked again. "It will make us both go through it." but I will be experiencing everything more so than you. Fayumi said. The physical feelings will not be as close to the real ones as much as the emotional and mental feelings. Izuku had a heavily stressed look, like he really didn't want to do this at all. However, he shut down that growing feeling. He needed to do this. He needed to prove he was past what happened at that horrible place. We can cancel it if you don't want to do this, Midoriya. Fayumi offered. She didn't want Izuku to have a panic attack. I can do it, Izuku said with only 50% certainty that he could. Okay, we can stop at any moment. All you have to do is say something. Fayumi out her hand in Izuku's and looked into her eyes to activate her quirk. Her eyes began to glow a soft pink and Izuku's did as well. Fayumi was able to see his memories, starting from the first one he had onward. Dad, when I grow up I'm going to be an awesome hero like you, the small Izuku declared from his father's head as they walked through a park. Can't be as awesome as me. Isashi chuckled. You did say my flame breath was the coolest thing ever. I'm going to get a quirk just as cool, Izuku shouted happily. I'm going to sneeze fire. Fayumi had a small smile as she felt the happiness Izuku had back then. She moved forward to another memory. Izuku fell out of a tree. Luckily it wasn't high enough to hurt when he fell off. Are you okay? A girl had run up to the green-haired boy who had fallen in the dirt. Izuku looked up at her and felt his breath leave again. He was young and didn't know much, but this girl was exactly that word his dad would use towards his mom all the time. And also being a 4-year-old, he still had no filter to stop him from saying everything in his mind. You're beautiful. The girl looked as confused as possible. What? Izuku rolled over into his stomach and stood up. Eye level with the girl. Her dual-colored eyes were pretty. One was gray and one was turquoise. Her hair was also 2 different colors, being white on the right half and red on the left side. I said you're beautiful. Sorry. A blush formed on her face. It's okay. So you are fine. Fayumi was actually surprised that Izuku and Shoko had such a chance meeting so long ago. She actually found their meeting a little adorable. Hisashi ruffled Izuku's hair. Told you that you would get something special. I'm going to be the best hero. Izuku jumped up happily. Wait till Kaken hears this, he would make his father so proud. Inko put Izuku down in the ground and pushed him towards the alley. Izu, run, Inko shouted. Izuku got confused but quickly began to run through the alley. Not questioning his mother's tone, he ran as hard as he could. He heard words behind him. You won't touch my baby while I can still stand here, Inko shouted defiantly. You won't be alive when I get him, a deal voice said as Izuku got out of range. Izuku stopped down the alley, turning around to see if his mom had followed, and he wished he hadn't turned around. Seeing his mother fall to the ground made Izuku start to cry. His mom had to be okay. She had to be. He turned back and ran farther into the alleys. Get him, Izuku heard a voice shout from behind him. He still kept running, trying to take different paths to not be easily found. Sadly, a guard ran up on Izuku and chopped at the back of his neck, making the boy fall over. The man grabbed Izuku by his arm tightly, grabbing a walkie-talkie with the other. I have him, Commander. The guard spoke into the device. Izuku struggled as hard as he could. Let me go. The guard smacked Izuku over the head hard. Quiet, you. Izuku started to cry as he still struggled. Quit struggling or I will give you something worse to cry over. Why were they doing this? Where was his dad? You shall not harm my golden piece, the gray-haired man ordered as he came into view. You are going to help me revolutionize the world as we know it, boy. The man gave Izuku a crazy grin through his shattered mask, before injecting Izuku with a serum to knock him out. Fayumi felt Izuku's fear from those moments. She had the urge to rush through this all so she can find the root of his head pains. Izuku was now strapped to a chair. The room was looking mostly clean save for the visible stains of a clear liquid on the chair, and the clothes Izuku had, which were also a bit torn. Izuku wasn't moving against his restraints, not having any strength to fight. A door opened and he heard that voice that he hated so much. You are going to be the first subject I test on this specific matter, so bravo, Murio stated as he cleaned off a syringe, entering the room with Izuku, but talking to whoever was in the viewing room he just left. I need protection of my golden egg. And if I did my tests right, you shall be that protection, whether your mind accepts it or not. Murio out the syringe in Izuku's arm and he felt anger, intense anger welling up at the man. However, the boy didn't fight it. He didn't let the hatred show in any way. If he wanted to continue to live, despite the hell he was in, he would have to play along. Even though this man would never let Izuku die, he would bring him immense pain. The doctor removed the syringe that had Izuku's evil and walked back into the other room. A buzzing was heard and a guard, the one who had captured Izuku in the first place, entered the room. Begin the procedure. The evil doctor spoke again and Izuku's guard began to torture the boy. Fayumi stopped for a second, breaking off the connection with Izuku. She had sweat on her face, feeling the pain that Izuku had back then. Can we stop? Izuku breathed out while looking at the floor. He was afraid of her finding the one thing he had kept secret from everyone. He didn't even consider it as a possibility till she stopped their connection to take a breath. He was afraid of how she and everyone else would react if they found that out. Fayumi nodded as she wiped her brow. Izuku noticing how she now had a small cut on her neck where he got the large one in the memory. If you want, you're hurt. She's fine. Recovery girl did her thing and used her quirk on Fayumi, healing the small cuts she got. You got hurt because of my quirk does that to me. Fayumi stopped Izuku so as to prevent him from trying to blame himself, something she had heard he would do. Feeling his memories also gave her a good insight of his person and how he kept thinking it was all his fault. She really didn't like how he kept blaming himself, and from the notes she had gotten, as well as a personal conversation with Rumi for approval on this whole thing, knew he had trouble swaying from that idea. Even Shoto was aware and told her how the boy had that thought of his being cursed. As much as Fayumi disagreed with that idea, she at least understood where Izuku got that from. 10 years of wing with that evil man wrapped the boy. It was my memories though. I willingly used my quirk knowing the risks. Fayumi gave Izuku a reassuring smile. From what I have seen, you are too sweet to want to hurt someone. At least that's what Miss Yuzujiyama said. Izuku got a completely different expression at hearing his beloved caretaker's name. He lost the guilt complex and gift excited. You talked to Rumi. I did. It would seem wrong to talk to you without her input. Fayumi liked how Izuku had lit up at the rabbit-like woman's name. Did she want to say anything to me? She said you and her need to have a rematch of shogi because she has a winning strategy this time. Fayumi left out the part where Rumi was getting steamed up about how Izuku had beaten her nonstop for the past few months of shogi after he learned it better from Shino. Oh, Izuku smiled as he remembered the one time Rumi played shogi with Shino and ended up flipping the board and the table with it while cursing. She never did that with Izuku but did get competitive with him over it. Monopoly was actually banned in his pseudo family after Yawara pulled shady business on Tomoko and Ryuko kept making Rumi go to jail, and it ended in a fight, especially after Izuku came out of nowhere and won. They all really let that escalate too much. Would you like to continue the session, sweetie, or are you done for today? Recovery girl asked. Can we stop today, pick up again tomorrow? Izuku figured he could deal with the thoughts later. He could tell Rumi before the next session. She deserved to know the most and should know first. Fayumi frowned for the first time, not liking the answer she was going to give, especially since Izuku was actually willing to continue with this all when it was obviously a hard thing to do. I'm sorry, Midoriya, but I won't be in Japan until next Tuesday. I was requested in Canada for a few days to help some people there. She would gladly help everyone she could at Ever My Second if she could. But she couldn't be in multiple spots at once, and the group in Canada really needed help, and she did give them her word to go fly over to Toronto later that day. I understand. Izuku nodded. He knew he wasn't the only troubled person, but also didn't like that there were any troubled people. He wished that some people weren't such bad people. Was Shoko happy? Fayumi was surprised he brought up her younger sister, but also glad that he was looking out for her sister in any way at all. She was happy. She is getting to see her older brother tomorrow. Really, the clear ed teen asked, glad his friend was getting her family back. He was excited to meet her also. Fayumi remembered when she called Natsu to tell him just minutes ago with Shoko about if he was free that evening, and he sounded like he would have rushed down to UA at that very second if he wasn't about to take tests all day. Dearie, are you fine as well? Recovery girl spoke up to ask Izuku. She was worried about the recent digging in his head setting off his head pains more frequently, which was bad since they still haven't found the source properly. She did have her theories, but she also wanted them to make sure of every possibility since Izuku was a very delicate situation. I am okay. Izuku nodded. He didn't feel as bad from his memory digging anymore since the topics of Rumi and Shoko were really good distractions. Is it okay if I go to class now? I don't want to miss anything. Sure. Both women nodded. We can continue next week, Izuku. Fayumi added. I am back Tuesday afternoon, so we can continue Wednesday if you like. That was enough time for Izuku to tell Rumi about the thing he was hiding, because part of him was too afraid to tell her, and he felt like it would take a few days of building up the nerve to even start speaking about it. When Izuku returned to class, everyone was there and spending the homeroom block talking about quirk combos they could do. All except Kiyotaka, who still didn't make himself part of the class, but at this point everyone had stopped trying to involve him since he would be just the slightest bit rude about it. Hey Izuku, Katsuki greeted the clear ed teen as he sat down. Everything went well, for the most part. Hey, so how about as a super move we do this Hanta began? Either Midoriya can straight eat a hardened Nijiro or Tetsu at someone, or Uraraka removes their gravity and I just swing them at whatever we are trying to hit. That sounds stupid and I love it. Tetsu had a smirk. It wasn't clear to me that my dream was to be a missile until this very moment. Anjiro stated. Wouldn't that, hurt your insides? Kioka asked the two teens who had accepted becoming projectile weapons. When I harden, literally everything hardens in me. The redhead explained. While I don't become perfect steel inside, I do gain steel likeness inside my body. Tetsu added. So they'll be fine. Hanta nodded. We now have a team super move. Imagine if Uraraka adds the gravity and such at the last second. Katsuki said. That would make you guys probably hit like a brick. Especially if Midori is throwing them. With his monster strength they will really be missiles. I love it even more, Anjiro stated. We really need to test that like right now. Wait till after class. Shota yawned as he stood up. Homeroom is now over. We are going to start classes now. At lunch the students of 1A were still cooking up interesting combos. Not for a second dropping the idea that had grown on the 19-person group. Wouldn't you coat my blades with acid? Toguru asked Mina. Wouldn't that burn you? The pink girl asked. Not if you make it something that would be at the solution of irritating to wounds. Momo pointed out. I could probably find something to have similar effects. It would definitely make any villains I cut not want to keep going if every cut to them has a lot of irritation following. The insect-like teen stated. Hey Ida, Katsuki said. I throw you with a lot of momentum from my explosions and you also use your recipro burst move and then use a kick. That would do a lot of damage. Tenya nodded while rubbing his chin. Yes, that would be a strong kick. We would have to aim really well with it because my engines have to cool down and that would leave me a target. Well, we are getting to do it early because of Izuku-sensei today. Tetsu stated. We can try out ideas today to see what would really work and work on that more. Murio added. Shoko looked at Izuku across the table from her. Can we try that thing with your bones again? The part where you put your fire over it, the clear-eyed teen asked. Shoko nodded. It is a combination of our powers. It is. Izuku nodded in agreement. Mina nodded while listening to them talk, knowing chemistry when she heard it. Hey Katsuki, want if you use an explosive to shoot one of my horns? Pony asked. That is one really sharp object to shoot with force like that, Katsuki stated. I like it. What if Ashido adds her acid to a horn of Tsunotori's? Tenya added. Getting pierced by one will be a painful hit and the irritant level of the acid will be another level. Making Mina's acid at an irritant level is useful with a lot of us, Kioka pointed out. I'm versatile, the pink girl grinned. Imagine if Yaoyorozu made a sword to give to Dark Shadow, Hanta stated. Or a gun, Denki added. A shadow demon with a gun, will that never not sound cool? Ijiro said. No, Hanta shook his head. That's awesome. Give the shadow a gun. Denki started to chant. Give the shadow a gun. No, Fumikage did not want to think of what Dark Shadow would do with a firearm. Give the shadow a gun. Both Hanta and Denki were chanting now. That's really unwise, Tenya stated. Let's not use guns. Toguru agreed. That is smart. Momo agreed as well. Pusses, Dark Shadow suddenly said. Damn, he called you out. Denki burst out laughing. Dark Shadow, please don't be rude. Fumikage was rubbing his temples. God, I love this class. Katsuki chuckled. Hello Nishida. Aizawa was actually in the staff lounge for once during lunch, instead of taking a nap in his classroom in his sleeping bag. Are you free this afternoon? Masakazu Nishida, better known as the pro-hero Ectoplasm, looked up from his lunch in surprise. Shota actually was doing something besides sleeping this early in the year. What was in his sandwich? Even Hisashi and Nimuri, the pro-heroes present Mike and Midnight respectively, looked up at their friend in surprise. Masakazu spoke after a second. I am free this afternoon. What do you need? My class wants to get started on super moves, Shota answered. Super moves? Nimuri raised her eyebrow. This little kiddies are getting started early. Why are you starting them in the first week? They asked me this morning about it. If they think they are ready, I believe they are. Awa, does Shota actually like his class for once? Nimuri teased. Yes, Shota answered flatly. He knew he had a reputation of being an unpleasant teacher, and before this class he had only liked 1 or 2 students total, one of which had proved how much he worked for his strength and was currently considered the strongest in the school. However, this class, bar the one kid who wasn't one of the group and didn't share the class enthusiasm, was easily liked by the man. Wow, Hisashi commented. These kids sound exciting. They are pretty good kids during lessons, Masakazu stated. So Jim Gamma. Yes, Shota nodded. I have one other person to get involved in this. He went to go find the one student Nat Yue he liked and respected. It was now time for the very first super move training session for Class 1A, all of them in their gym clothes at Gym Gamma and ready to go. Shota finally walked into the gym followed by 2 people, Masakazu and one of the third-year students. The blonde one Izuku and Shoko had met the night before. Hello, Murio waved happily to the class. What's up? Both Hanta and Denki greeted the blonde with equally high energy to his own. Class, this is Murio Tagata, considered to be the top member of the Big 3, the 3 kids who are considered the strongest among the students here at UA, as well as strong enough to contend with some pro-heroes. Wow, that's cool, Ijiro exclaimed. That's awesome, Tetsu agreed. What is your quirk? Ochako asked with interest. How about I show you guys? Murio offered. Oh, cool, a show, Toguru commented. By beating all 20 of you in a fight, Murio added. But not in an arrogant way. All 20 of us, Katsuki snorted. PFFT okay. Yep, Murio nodded with a happy smile. Mr. Aizawa wants me to show you all how much improvement he believes you guys can make by showing you the gap there is. I really want to see this gap. Toguro was definitely eager for this. Ain't no way you have a lead on Midoriya, Denki said. Dude's a beast, Midoriya Murio asked, remembering the name from the day before, right as he noticed the quiet boy. Oh Midoriya, you're in this class, that is so cool. You guys know each other, Katsuki asked. When me and Shoko came here to spar we met him and 2 others, Izuku asked. Yep, Murio nodded. They're Tamaki and Neji are the other 2 people in the big 3. It actually makes sense that 2 of the kids I met were in Mr. Aizawa's class. He did say you guys have drive. I think that is why he likes you so much. Shota actually looked embarrassed for the first time in a while, and Masakazu wished he had a camera to take a photo as evidence to show Nimiri and Hisashi, who he knew would pay good money for a photo of that. Well, let's not disappoint Sensei and take you down, Toguro exclaimed. Yeah, Pony matched the insect-like teen's energy. Hell yeah, let's do this, Katsuki agreed. I like you guys, Murio stated. 20 on 1. You all show good drive, so I will give it my all to respect you guys. Don't expect anything less from us, Ijiro grinned. Let's do this, Murio announced the start of the seemingly one-sided match before he dropped right through the floor, his clothes dropping to the ground, not following him. What the hell, Toguro, as the closest teen said in confusion. Element of surprise, Murio suddenly popped up, buck naked, right behind Kiyotaka. Before the gas user could react, he got a heavy fist to the back of his head that knocked him out instantly. Hey, you're naked, Pony shouted while avoiding looking at Murio's lower body. That's a drawback of my quirk, Murio stated before he fell through the floor again. He punches hard if Akitmitsu was knocked out that easily, Tenya stated. Keep on guard. Watch each other's backs, Momo added. Shota was proud that his kids thought quickly and efficiently. The blonde third-year student shoot out of the ground lightning quick and sent a hit at Mashiro. Put was surprised to miss when Izuku, who was watching near his tailed classmate at that moment, yanked Mashiro away from the hit. While you have reflexes, Murio applauded Izuku. No one can easily outmove me. He is our powerhouse, Mina boasted. Interesting, Murio said as he shoot down into the ground before quickly popping up and shooting a kick at Hanta's, sending the teen down under the older student's immense strength. Hanta, Denki exclaimed. Focus, Murio tries to get Denki but was surprised when Katsuki got his classmate out of the way. Oh, more reflexes. Just figured you'd go after the first distracted guy. Katsuki jumped at Murio and sent 2 explosions out of his palms at point-blank range, only to get surprised when Murio gave no reaction, as well as gained no slight physical change from the blast. Hey, wow, those are cool, Murio said excitedly right before he headbutted the explosive blonde and sent him to the ground, out cold. Well shit, Tetsu said. Do explosions do anything to you? They can, Murio nodded as he fell through the ground again. What is his quirk, Kioka asked, right before Murio came up again and hit Kinoko with an uppercut, knocking her out as well. Damn, is everything a hit one knockout with you, Denki asked. Have you seen his muscles? Mina pointed at the blonde who was seemingly untouchable. No way would it take more than 5 hits to knock out any of us, Pony agreed. Murio dropped back into the ground. Watch out, Momo said. Murio reappeared and knocked Tetsu and Ijiro's heads together. The 2 were using their quirks, so it wasn't an immediate knockout, but they were definitely thrown off. Get him, Denki shot an arc of electricity that should have hit Murio, but the blonde dropped through the ground, instead making the electricity shock both Tetsu and Ijiro enough to make them lose their quirk's effect. The third-year student took advantage of that moment, popped out of the ground to knock their heads together again, this time knocking them out. Oh, come on, Denki sounded annoyed. Guys, I am sorry. Shota was watching with interest. He knew if any class of students currently at UA could figure out Murio's quirk, it would be this class. Hell, he knew they would at least be able to be the first people in 2 years to actually get to land a hit on Murio. Izuku felt his instincts telling him to move and he jumped high into the air, narrowly dodging a quickly moving Murio. While you do have good instincts, Murio had a grin as he still went through with the punch he was gonna hit Izuku with, it now going to Kioka, knocking her out. Shoko sent out ice at Murio and it went right through him, and he somehow shoot out from it with speed and landed a strike on Mashiro, knocking out the tailed teen. Even Ice, Toguro exclaimed as he rushed Murio, only for the blonde to drop into the ground. Izuku landed and realized what the older teen's quirk was. He could go through objects, the ground and Shoko's ice. He could ignore something like explosions like they weren't touching him, because he had a quirk that made him intangible. The ability to not have a physical presence, which means nothing would touch him and instead go right through him. Guys, he can make himself intangible, Izuku shouted. Shota and Murio both grinned, Izuku being the first person to actually call it before Murio himself could say it. Yes, Murio nodded as he slammed a fist into Tenya's stomach and sent the teen into unconsciousness. He has to have a limit on how long he can be intangible then, Shoko stated. If he can go through the ground, that means oxygen is going through him and he can't breathe. Murio's signature grin got bigger. These 2 were smart. We need to time him, Momo made a staff. Every 3 seconds, Pony said, having actually been counting. Everyone needs to attack at multiple angles at once themselves to be prepared. Toguro made more blades in his body. Now Izuku made multiple blunt bones. Just be safe. As Murio popped up and hit Ochako in her gut, the girl's reaction time being off. Murio was excited. This was the first group of people to guess his quirk and actually stay calm, despite a little panic. He could see why Shoto liked them as much as he did. He himself personally liked the Midoriya kid. 2 more seconds, Momo stated. On time, Murio shot out of end ground, but at a new angle, right below Momo to knock her off her feet before he gave her a punch to the gut and knocked her out. Damn, Denki said. Dude is seriously tough. Thank you. Murio popped up behind him and chopped Denki's neck, knocking him out. Toguro cursed at how easily Murio was taking them out. He knew they were in for some work if this guy was the strongest at UA. But damn, he didn't think it was this much. That's not friendly language. Murio went to hit Toguro and was excited to see the insect-like teen had excellent reflexes, bringing up his blades to slash at Murio. However, the blades went through the blonde who hit Toguro in his stomach and knocked him out. He can make separate parts intangible, Izuku stated. He noticed that as when Togoro's blade should have cut Murio's arm but went through his arm to no other effect, while Murio's fist had to be physical at that same time to hit Toguro. Correct, Murio grinned. He definitely liked the kid who had dodged him perfectly now. The Midoriya kid definitely was smart. He shot out of the ground again and hit both Ochako and Huryu in their guts at the same time and knocked them both out. How is he shooting out of the ground like that though, Mina asked. The ground could be forcing him back up once he becomes solid under it, Fumikage offered while Dark Shadow was above him ready to strike. That would explain how he shoots out so fast. Pony agreed. Murio shot out again, ready to hit Shoko, but to everyone's surprise he got hit. The 2 teachers were shocked, as was the class, when a blunt bone erupted from the ground with force and smacked Murio in his stomach and sent him away from Shoko. The blonde upperclassman actually looked surprised himself, trying to figure out which one had bones to hit him with. Good job, Midori, Mina cheered. Murio looked at Izuku, who had taken to being in a crouched position with his hands on the ground. The boy stood up and his palms were wide and ripped open. You hit me. Murio was really surprised. No one had managed to hit him in the past 2 years. I found your pattern. Izuku breathed heavily because forcing all of the bones underground to mold for that attack took a toll on his energy. You hit one of us in the middle before going at someone on the outside of our group. Shoko was next, so I got ready to attack at a speed you couldn't react to if you didn't see it immediately. While it certainly was a good hit, Murio gave him a thumbs up. Keep it up. He dropped through the ground again. Damn, you think after the one hit he would let us stop? Pony's sweat dropped. You guys can do more. The intangible blonde came up and hit Pony for another one-hit knockout. Going to make you regret touching me. Mina prepared herself by coating herself with acid at a level of what would burn everyone else at a non-severe level. I am excited. Murio liked how she thought. However, Hai made his fist intangible, going through the acid intangible afterwards to hit her for another knockout. Everyone is going down in one hit. Fumikage had a tense look. I have an idea, Izuku said. Putting his plan into action, he watched Murio drop through the ground. He knew Murio would go at him if Izuku said that. He purposely made himself a target. Shoko set me on fire. Shoko did not want to set Izuku on fire, but knew that Izuku was smart enough to know what he was doing. Izuku could handle being set on fire, but it would make Murio have to be precise with his strikes and make a window Izuku could strike in. Shoko sent out a large torrent of flames at Izuku, setting the clear-eyed teen on fire. She was against it completely but was amazed at how well he was handling it, being relatively calm like he had been burned multiple times before. That thought, however, made her frown. Murio popped out of the ground at Izuku, having a slightly shocked look at the teen who had instantly turned with his heightened senses to face the older teen. The blonde saw Izuku's skin burning away and healing just as fast all over, and it actually threw him off, his strike not having as much push into it. Izuku made small bones instantly spike out at Murio's fist, and cut the older teen's hand slightly before hitting the blonde's tangible with force, sending him back under Izuku's own strength. Murio skidded to a stop and still had a wide-eyed look at Izuku. Was this kid really willingly setting himself on fire? It was obviously hurting him, but he played it off well. Izuku chased after Murio, not letting up his gained advantage. He made multiple blunt finger joints shoot at Murio, which added with the fire Izuku was currently covered with were definitely something the blonde didn't want. He timed his quirk to stay untouchable at just the right moments from Izuku's strikes before getting a solid punch to Izuku's that sent him back towards Shoko. Shoko couldn't take it anymore and sent a thin wave of ice at Izuku to extinguish the flames. Izuku wasn't knocked out because it would take a while to hit him with force that could knock him out. He got into a stance and ready to go back at Murio. Okay, enough. Shota interrupted the match. He was calling it because the class could clearly get whatever message Murio would give, and he did not want Izuku to do anything rash like making himself a living fire again. I think you all would get the point now. Tagata, please put back on your clothes, and Izuku, go get spares to replace what you have burned. Izuku looked down to see that most of his clothes have pretty much burned away from the fire. Luckily, he still had the parts that covered the important parts. Okay, I will wake the others and then we will go over the point of that. Minutes later, the whole class was up and ready to continue their lessons. Not deterred by the easy defeat some of them got, most of them were actually amazed by Izuku's efforts, actually getting a few hits in on Murio. Granted, they all also didn't like his idea to set himself on fire. Murio faced the class after everyone got up and was informed of what happened. I hope you guys got some good messages from that. Yeah, Tatsuki nodded. We still have some ways to go before we are even halfway to the top. Your quirk is definitely strong, Toguru stated. It wasn't always like that, Murio stated. It took practice, Izuku said. You don't just have physical objects go through you, but everything else as well. That means no light, sound, or oxygen, Momo added. You would be blind while using it on your head, so you would have to have good instincts or prediction abilities off the charts to hit us as cleanly as you did. Ijiro made a grin. That would take a lot of work to get to the level of finesse you have. The message is for us to understand that our basic levels we have are not enough, and that we have to work our asses and quirks off with hard effort and drive to reach that next level and be good heroes. Tetsu nodded. Because what is seen at the basic level of a quirk isn't everything that the quirk has to offer. It's a tool and extension of our body, and like most of our body parts, it has multiple ways to be utilized, so we have to be ready for any use. Ribbit, Suyu explained. Murio looked at Shota. I see why you like them, Mr. Aizawa. They are really smart. Shota nodded. I believe they are the best the first years have to offer. The blonde, permanently happy upperclassman nodded to the class. That is all true. All of you do have room to grow, but I think you guys are higher than you yourselves think. Last year I actually beat the class I was helping in less than 6 seconds because they didn't take it seriously. You guys actually broke the streak. I didn't knock out all of you. It took more than a few hits for some of you, and I actually got hit for the first time in 2 years. He held up his cut-up fist. I see this as proof that you guys are excellent heroes in the making. The class all smiled. Murio had a really positive energy he gave off. Dude, your quirk is cool as hell, Hanta exclaimed. That is some next level stuff, and you taking on 20 of us like that, you are gonna be a top tier man. You got that right, Ijiro nodded. Manly as hell. I like you guys, Murio laughed. Most classes would shrug him off because he did come off as slightly cartoony, but these kids understood his hard work and the message he was giving them. We're cool like that, Pony stated. Anyways, that was to show you kids that even if you think you are at a decent level with your quirks, there is always room to grow. With these super moves you guys want to make, you should think of any angle that you could work your quirk into something effective, even if it is very situational. Today we will only do individual super moves so you guys can learn better what you can do with your quirks without any risk of harm. If you don't know what to do as a super move, we can work on improving your quirks themselves for a better output. Got it, half of the guys said excitedly, the whole class eager to get going. Tagata will still be here to offer his own advice if he is willing. I am willing, Murio had a big grin. Anyone who wants to improve definitely should get the help they need. And Nishida will make clones for you guys to test your attacks against. Even if you break one, I can make more, Masakazu stated. Let's get to work, Shota stated the beginning of their super move training. Murio looked at Izuku, wondering what the clear ed teen was thinking. What's on your mind, Midoriya, the upperclassman asked. I don't know what to do, the emerald and white-haired teen answered. He felt embarrassed that everyone else was working hard to improve their quirks all over the large gym, but he was standing there confused. Well, how do your bones work, Murio asked. Those bones intrigued Murio if he was honest. The first attack to hit him in a long time. I don't want my bones, Izuku answered suddenly with a head shake. The blonde made a hum face. Okay, Otamaki said you have multiple quirks. I do. Can you combine them? Combine them? Izuku got a confused look. Why hasn't he thought of that before? Yeah, like if you made 2 of them work in conjunction for a new style. Murio got enthused about the idea. What quirks do you have? Izuku immediately knew what 2 quirks he would want to combine, if any. My parents' quirks, Spitfire, Murio asked. Yes, I have his flame breath and my mom's telekinesis. Izuku gained a smile as he thought of how he could combine the quirks. That can make pyrokinesis. Murio liked how enthused Izuku got all of a sudden. Izuku used both quirks at the same time to see what would initially happen. The flames all came out, but with a slight green tint like his mother's telekinesis. He could feel the flames, like even at the edge of the flames, maybe he could move them. Izuku tried to move his flames that kept going and watched the flames actually moved without him moving physically. While Murio had a grin, the flames looking amazing to him. Can you control exactly how they move? Izuku narrowed the cone of his flames. The wider it was, the more straining it was for him. Soon it was all condensed flames inside of his telekinesis, which got thicker as it got a smaller area. It's like you have a long tongue of flames, Murio commented. That made Izuku think of Tsuyu, and how she could use her long tongue effectively like a whip. Could he do that? Trying it, he slashed the fiery whip like flames, and the two were shocked to see it actually cracked into the wall next to them, leaving scorch marks as it did. The attack made Izuku drop his flames completely. Wow, that is strong. The blonde upperclassman was glad that wasn't what Izuku had hit him with earlier. Why did it hit like that? Izuku asked. Murio made another hum face. You might be putting your strength into it. You have a good punch. I have a super strength quirk, the clear-eyed teen stated. Murio lit up. That's it, you must be subconsciously adding your other quirks in for extra effect. Izuku blinked. That made sense. He never tried to use one singular quirk besides flame breath or telekinesis. He probably was actually cross-using quirks this whole time. How can I separate them that way I don't cause too much destruction? Does each one give you a different feeling? Izuku felt his quirks. He never tried to do much past actually just feeling them before. He knew the quirks all had a slightly different feel to them. They do. If you could feel each individual one, why not just focus on the ones you want at that moment? Although I suggest not suppressing your healing quirk because that one seems very helpful. Okay. Izuku nodded as he focused on just 3 quirks, not letting any of the other ones slip through at that moment. He remade the flame-like whip and swung it again, hitting the wall and only scorching it. You have great control, Murio commented. It seems like you can use that telekinesis guide your flames. Izuku nodded. If I add my bones, I could make cartilage that can act as a shell to the flames that the telekinesis can move with good control. I bet if you kept the flames closed off to the outside with your bones but kept pouring flames, it could make a powerful burst attack when you hit something with them. Thank you, Tagata. Izuku was grateful for the help. No problem, Midoriya the blonde gave a thumbs up. The class as a whole had improved greatly, and even just the first training session they had. Tenya had improved his recipro burst, reaching a slightly faster 2 speed and lowering the cooldown by a few seconds. Momo had created a move she had called Yaoyorozu's Lucky Bag, which starts with her making a large cannon, which can launch a bag full of items, all of which are items that she can make with her quirk. Mina had made a move out of her action during the match against Murio, dubbing the move Acid Armor. The move was a great deterrent to others to not physically touch her since it can burn them and it can dissolve. Any projectile can just be dissolved by the thick layer of acid she makes to cover herself with. Kanoko had asked to just physically train herself since she admitted she thought she was lacking a large amount of that skill. Tagaru had offered to help her since he already had his own move down. His super move was called Cutting Tornado, where he makes himself spin fast with multiple blades all over his body. Huryu made a move he called Reverse Scales, where he makes his scales protrude outward instead of inward, so that their sharp ends may face out as spikes for offense, making his close combat almost as sharp as people like Izuku or Tagaru. Tsuyu made a move she dubbed Camouflage, which wasn't offensive but could have the way for any sort of action. Using her frog-like abilities, she could make her body match the temperature and color of her surroundings in order to mask her presence, essentially being invisible. Ochako worked on her ability to move around easier when making her own gravity null, believing it could have the way for more options for her take down the road when making new techniques. Pony worked on improving the control of her horns, wanting to increase the max number of horns she could control at any given point. Both Tetsu and Ijiro took to sparring to make their similar quirks get more durable, essentially just trying to hit each other as hard as they could and taking turns doing it. Kioka worked in improving her heartbeat pulse, wanting to lower the cooldown and the effective dizziness she got from using it. Denki worked on increasing how much electricity he could discharge, wanting to be able to do more before the effects of momentarily frying his brain cells to the IQ of a bag of rocks kicked in. Hanta worked on his ability to throw objects with his tape, going just below his maximum lifting limit to increase it. Mashurao worked on increasing his muscle mass as well as the strength and durability of his tail, wanting to make sure it was good and ready before he began to develop more advanced attacks.
Fumikage actually got the idea to use Dark Shadow as a sort of armor, calling it Black Ink. The move negates Fumicage's close combat weaknesses, as Dark Shadow is incredibly strong and durable.
Katsuki decided to work on his mobility over his super moves since he already had Howitzer Impact and his AP shot attacks, which he said he wanted to leave as a cool surprise bro the others later. Kiyotaka actually didn't uninstall himself from the situation like everyone figured he would and worked on his ability to use his gas while not having equipment to give him fresh air. He had fallen asleep from the gas multiple times but got up to repeat the process. Shoko make a make she called her flaming ice shots. She would put her hands together, igniting the fire of her left side before shooting out of ice that would end up coated in flames as it flew with force where she aimed. The attack would hit like a brick from the ice and then burn whatever was hit by the attack. After developing it, she also worked in improving the control of her fire. Izuku trained more with his new move, which he dubbed his Midoriya Flame since it was made by the combination of his parents' quirks. He hadn't added in his bones yet because he wanted to make this a whole moveset of its own. Shoto was proud of each of his students. Each one was smart and improved at a great pace. If he was to be honest, he would consider them to be prodigies. All of them had that talent to them to grow at a good pace while learning well and retaining everything. He had to admit that some of their moves were a sight to see, and he pitied any villains that would cross their paths when these kids gained more experience. Okay, that is it for today. The teacher of 1A got the kids' attention. You all did great. As much as I know some of you want to keep going, it is late and you all need to eat. Return to the dorms and enjoy the rest of your night. Got it, teach. Ijiro gave a thumbs up from his spot on the ground, too tired to feel like standing. Tomorrow you will not have anything to do as hero training, and you will only be allowed to do light training. All Might has a special class this Friday that he wants you all ready for, so no overdoing anything tomorrow. Ah, cool. What is the class? Huryu was leaning on the wall while catching his breath. All Might wants a surprise. Neat. All of you go rest. As much as I love your hard work, you have to actually take a minute to test and catch your breath. Shota began to walk away. In a nap for sure. Denki yawned. Today was a good day. Tenya nodded. For sure. Katsuki nodded. Imagine how it'll be when we get to start duo super moves. Oh, I can't wait for that. Hanta helped Mina up. Really wanna make Ijiro a human projectile. I really wanna be a human projectile. Ijiro laughed. I feel like the girls in this class will outlive the guys here. Kioka stated. Man, we are here for a fun time. Not a long time, Denki said with a dramatic joking seriousness. Testify. Hanta grinned. Izuku and Shoko were near the back of the group, not kids, as they walked back to the dorms. Your super move is amazing, Izuku said to the girl next to him. Thank you. I like your Midoriya flames. They have a good flow to them. Your flaming ice shots have good visuals as well. It feels awkward to keep my flames up like a pilot light without hitting my hand with the ice. I need to work on finding the good spot or make my flames not have to be as close to me at that level. Your fire control has improved a lot. I still burn the inside of my mouth. Your body doesn't naturally build resistance to all of your quirks' drawbacks. However, your super regeneration negates that to a point. It is kind of good to have that one. I have an idea for a super move we could do together, Shoko said with a slight red tint to her face. Not just the part where you pass me a bone to ignite, but I could also hand you ice to spike any bone weapons you make, since you can't manipulate them after they leave your body. That is smart. Your ice is really strong and would make any attack more powerful. Shoko turned redder and Kiyotaka noticed that, making sure he wasn't as obvious as his slip-up the day before. Hey, if you two fought, who would win? Katsuki asked Ijiro and Tetsutetsu. They, both guys said at the same time. They got a competitive look. No, me, seems evenly matched to me, Mina stated. It'll be Ijiro, Pony declared. Nah, Steel Boy is my vote. Tagaru said his opinion. Who would win between me and Hanta? Denki asked. Zero, half of the class said.
Hey, Denki got an offended look. Someone say me.
Kaminari, a wet paper bag would beat you. Kyoka laughed. That happened one time. Thursday morning came and everyone came downstairs like they had for the past few days. Everything had become a routine in the morning at this point. Either Katsuki, Tsuyu, or Izuku would be in the kitchen making breakfast. Except today, Pony and Ijiro blocking the three from the kitchen. We can't have you guys making breakfast every day, Ijiro said. Yeah, so we are doing it today. Pony nodded hard. All right. Katsuki walked away. I figured he would protest more. The redhead looked at his horned friend. Can I have a glass of milk? Izuku asked. I gotcha, man, but you are not allowed in the kitchen this morning. Ijiro went to get it for Izuku.
So today we have the day off, right? Denki asked from the couch where he was watching TV that morning.
Aizawa-sensei wants us to not overwork ourselves before tomorrow, Mushiro said. So light training if anything, Momo stated. Hey Izuku, maybe we can knock off another page of the journals, Katsuki offered. Journals? Tagaru asked. We found old journals we made when we were 4 and they have a bunch of things we wanted to do, the blonde explained. Like the band? Kyoka asked. Exactly, he nodded. Is there something we can do in one day? Izuku asked. Probably, Katsuki nodded. We can check during homeroom since we always have long ones, because we get to class like an hour early at this point, Hanta added. It's only half an hour, Kyoka said. On the way to classes, the class ran into a teacher. It was All Might. Hello students. All Might grinned. He knew they would arrive this early. He was actually waiting so he could talk to Izuku about One for All. May I borrow young Midoriya for a bit? He didn't feel like he had to hide any sort of relationship with Izuku since the boy was a special case no matter what. Bring him back in good condition, Hanta said. His healing makes him always be in good condition, Tagaru stated. Izuku silently followed All Might and they entered an office, All Might's to be exact. The blonde man sat at his desk, and once the door was closed he poofed into his skeletal form to save that time in his muscle form for later. Good morning, Midoriya. Hello, Izuku replied. Is this about One for All? It is, All Might nodded. The battle trials of Class 1B happened yesterday. And I actually have a few kids who I believe stand out as possible choices for One for All. He turned his computer monitor so Izuku could see it also. It was a collection of the photos of everyone from 1B. All Might tapped on the photo of an orange-haired girl with her hair in a side ponytail with blue eyes. Her name is Itsuka Kendo. All Might said, out of the few kids in 1B I believe fill our ideals, she is the best choice in my opinion. She seems to have a sort of big sister role to the rest of the class. She is actually the class rep too. Izuku nodded. All Might tapped on the photo of another kid. This was a guy with ashy hair and no discernible lips. Juzo Honuki. He has good judgment and the others view him as a good leader. A knock at the door got their attention and All Might went into his muscular form. You can come in. A well-built man with gray hair and a noticeable underbite opened the door. He regarded Izuku for a single second before looking to All Might. Morning, All Might. Do you have those notes for my class's performance yesterday with you still? The man asked. I believe I may have placed them in your desk already. Can. All Might answered the teacher of 1B. Can nodded. Thank you. He then left. Where was I? All Might asked as he went back to being skeletal. Ah yes. So far to me these two stand out the most from 1B. Are you any closer to an idea on anyone? Izuku though about his classmates for a second. They were all great people in Izuku's opinion. Well, not Kiyotaka. He hasn't even said a word to Izuku yet and the clear-eyed teen got an uneasy vibe from him. One person entered Izuku's mind as worthy of one for all. Katsuki. Bakugo. All Might asked. He spent 10 years training really hard and pushing himself to be strong and get me out of that place. Izuku said it like he was upset that Katsuki basically have up his whole childhood for Izuku's sake. He tries to keep things smooth and has been really helpful with everything. The blonde man nodded. He does seem to carry that weight of responsibility and maturity. Even if he sometimes loses that filter, Bakugo does make sense as someone worthy of such a power. The man then looked Izuku in the eyes. I just want you to believe you genuinely believe Bakugo is worthy and that guilt has nothing to do with this. Izuku nodded and looked down. He deserves it. It's not just me trying to make some sort of amends for him doing everything he has. It was his choice after all to do what he has done to get this far. Midoriya. Bakugo saw an injustice done to someone close to him and it only made his will to prevent such situations from happening even stronger. I will talk to Bakugo later today I believe if I have time, which I doubt I will sadly. Meetings to keep the press off of anything but me are a bit time-consuming. The media is here, Izuku asked, not wanting to be near a camera at all. He has taken a dislike after Rumi had bad-mouthed the media multiple times because she pointed out how the media just makes things worse for people like Izuku and they can't mind their own business. They will not get far into the building Midoriya, only to a conference room to ask me about my teaching here. I agreed to it so that they will calm down on my sudden teaching here. All Might didn't want to bring up at all that the media was also being pressuring to the school to let them see Izuku. He actually really only was doing this interview so that they would focus on his being a teacher and hopefully lay off of Izuku for a bit. Do I talk to the people from 1B? Izuku asked. Young Kendo and Honuki, I suppose you can, but if you do not feel comfortable going out of your way to meet new people I will understand. A message went off on All Might's work phone. I believe that is Nezu with the press so I must get going. He stood up and popped into his muscle form. Have a pleasant day of classes, Midoriya. Izuku left the office with All Might and quietly said his bye as he walked to class. He didn't like being in the hall alone now that there were more kids there and he noticed some of the others seeing him. He wasn't alone for long when he heard someone call his name. Midoriya, it was Murio, with Nejire and Tamaki. Hello, hello. The clear-eyed teen felt relieved to see someone who he felt calm around. You're that kid from the other night, Nejire said. Where is the girl with the pretty hair?
She is in class.
Your scarf is still pretty. The blue-haired girl commented on his scarf again. How are you today, Midoriya? Murio asked. I think okay. That is nice. Tamaki looked up and noticed a kid whispering and looking at Izuku, and the kid being aware of it. Why don't we all go to class together? Our homeroom is past yours. He nudged his elbow that was unseen by Izuku into Murio's back so he could take the hint. The blonde did take the hint. Well, at least to take Izuku to his class and not the reason, but he could always ask Tamaki for it later. Yes, let's get to our classes together. We can tell Nejire and Tamaki about your awesome flames on the way. Izuku lit up a little at the mention of his father's flames. Okay, Katsuki and Tagaru were admittedly both waiting outside of 1A's classroom to see if anyone would be a dick to Izuku in the hallways so they can kick that dick's ass for messing with Izuku. However, when Izuku showed up around the corner they saw their classmate talking excitedly with none other than the big three of the UA students. When he first smacked the wall with it he actually cracked the wall. Murio described Izuku's Midoriya flames to his friends. Tagada said I could use them like a whip. Izuku nodded. That sounds pretty tough, Nejire commented. If you condense the flames it could possibly be a capture tool against people weak to fire. Tamaki offered. Hey Izuku, Katsuki said to get his attention. Hey upperclassmen. Hello, I'm Nejire Hato. The blue-haired upperclassman wasted no time in introducing herself before she looked at Tagaru and saw his mandibles. Can you bite with those? The insect-like teen hasn't been asked that before and looked confused before touching one of his mandibles. No, these are mostly for show. We should get to class also, guys, Tamaki said. It was nice talking to you, Midoriya. He had to admit he took a liking to Izuku the second the boy got excited about his flames when Murio brought them up. It was nice to see you, Midoriya. Nejire waved with a smile. Mr. Aizawa said that he might want us to help you all with your super move classes down the road, so we might all see those flames in action soon. Murio added, see you all later. Bye. Izuku waved slightly. I think our class is now buddies with the big three, Kagaru said as the three walked into their own class, which makes for great training, you gotta admit, Katsuki stated. Yeah, so I can beat you in a fight one of these days. The insect-like teen got to his seat. Yes, you would need like a big 8 just to beat me. The blonde joked as Tagaru made a wave before he turned to Kanoko, who was getting his attention. Katsuki turned to Izuku and held up his old journal. Hey Izuku, I found us a page to do. What is it? Izuku asked as he was handed the journal to see a colored drawing of a big beast-like creature with spindly tentacles wrapping around its back. Hunt for the demon bear. Katsuki read out the title of the page. Hunt for the what? Kioka looked up from her seat near them. The demon bear Ijiro was now listening to. Yeah, Katsuki nodded. We both used to live a few minutes from a forest and would go through the close part exploring. There is a legend of a man who got, I can't remember correctly, but he got screwed over and lost his humanity and became a demon bear. Supposedly he goes around the forest looking for lost hikers to steal their souls to use to buy his back. We always wanted to find him. That is most likely just a myth and you won't find anything. Suyu responded. Yeah, but it could be a fun afternoon of hiking like we used to. Katsuki countered and looked at Izuku. Wanna do it? Are we allowed to? Izuku looked behind him at Aizawa's desk, where their teacher was working on some papers he was making. The man looked up. As long as a few of you go, I am fine. Just make sure Midoriya isn't alone because people are sure to want to bother him in any way. So a few of us can go then, Tagaru asked. I don't see why not, Katsuki replied. I can find new insects, so I am interested. The insect-loving teen stated his interest. We might fight a demon bear. Tetsu grinned. That would be so manly. Ijiro grinned as well. If you guys want to go, just let us know before we leave the dorms after class, Katsuki announced as he went to his seat. At lunch, the class were all in their own separate conversations, talking about things ranging from the hiking trip to Mina talking about break dancing. So we got me, Izuku, Tagaru, Tetsu, Ijiro, Hanta and Denki. Is that right? Katsuki asked. Hell yeah, we can catch Bigfoot, Denki nodded. Bigfoot is an American thing, man. Tetsu responded. Anything with big feet counts as a Bigfoot, Hanta added. If that bear has a size 15, we got Bigfoot. Denki nodded. Big feet if he has more than 1 foot, the tape user pointed out. If he has 1 foot, will he come at us on a unicycle? Denki asked. If a demon bear came at me on a unicycle looking to take my soul, I don't know how I would feel, Ijiro stated. Terrified, Hanta said firmly. Is it okay if I join? Shoko asked Izuku. I would like it if you came, Izuku admitted. I want to fight a one-legged demon bear on a unicycle, so I am in, Pony stated. For sure, I am down now too, Mina added. With this group, the unicycle bear never stood a chance, Hanta stated, especially on its one leg. Katsuki nodded. Shota dialed the number that was labeled under Izuku's information as his guardian, waiting for the rabbit woman to answer. This is Mirko. Rumi answered her phone. Hello, Miss Yuzujiyama. This is Shota Aizawa, Izuku's homeroom teacher. Did something happen? The woman quickly asked in a panic, showing Shota clearly that she cared about Izuku. He is all right. I was just letting you know, since he is a special case, that he and some classmates were planning on a small hiking trip this afternoon after classes. And how many of those kids are there? I don't want Izuku to be left alone. I do not know for sure at this given moment, but a good portion of the class. They all look out for each other, so I believe they will be okay. However, as his guardian, I am still informing you. Well, thank you for letting me know, Aizawa, Rumi replied. At the end of their school day, the class was about to leave class when Shota said a final thing. Those of you who are going off campus, be careful. You kids can handle yourselves better than most your age. If anything even slightly out of hand happens, try to alert me or another adult who can help. Got it, sensei. Katsuki nodded for the group. We'll call if that bear has 2 legs. Denki agreed. What? Shota looked confused for a second. I don't want to know. All right, everybody, let's get going, Mina announced. I want to find a bear with a unicycle. Shota didn't even comment that time and just accepted that his students were just kids being kids at that point. He was, however, planning on tailing them to see if he could find whoever is spying on Izuku. At the dorms, the kids immediately got into their normal clothing and were at the doors waiting, except Izuku, who had called Rumi a moment prior to let her know about his day and what he was doing. Guys, remember the curfew? Tenya said as he looked at the half of the class that were leaving. Got it, Hanta nodded. Hey, if we miss curfew, we could just call and then crash at one of our places, right? Ijiro asked. My mom would kill me if I brought 7 guys home, Mina joked. Yeah, but one of them is Midoriya and he is a bean, Hanta commented. I am a what? The clear ed teen made his presence known when he asked that. no one really noticing him until that moment. Tetsu jumped from the sudden knowledge of Izuku being next to him. "Geez man, how long were you next to me?" the silver-haired teen exhaled. "Sorry," Izuku apologized. "Don't apologize, you were fine." The silver teen put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Just caught me off guard. Lacking like that is how the bear is gonna eat your ass first," Denki stated. "I am kicking you off the trip for that," Katsuki said flatly to the electric teen. "What?" Denki protested. "You got caught lacking." Hanta laughed. "Aw come on, let me stay," Denki pleaded. "All 10 of us are here, right?" Katsuki ignored Denki, but his number implying he wasn't actually kicking Denki out. "You guys have a fun hike," Kioka said as she went to the kitchen. "Not coming?" Katsuki asked. "Now I am going to tune my guitars up tonight. If this was during the dark hours I would join as well," Fumikage said. "But it is not." "Dark hours?" Pony asked. "Nighttime but for edgy kids," Tetsu answered. "Can you get me some mushrooms?" Kanoko asked Tagaru nervously as she showed a picture of some mushrooms that grow around the area. "They are Tricholoma matsutake and grow under trees, and aren't these also called just matsutake?" Tagaru asked as he looked at the photo, not noticing how red Kanoko was at him actually speaking back and naming the mushroom himself also. "Yeah, I feed them to my beetles sometimes. I can find some." He then looked at Kanoko. "Wait, can't you make them? Normal ones taste better," the mushroom girl replied. "I get it." He nodded. "Some swords are a little cooler than the blades I can make. I can get you some matsutake." "Thank you." Kanoko smiled. "No one else is joining?" Ijiro asked. "Let's get going then. I lead this expedition," Katsuki announced as he held up his hand to point at the ceiling as he went to the entrance. "Let us embark to find the demon bear." As the 10 kids began to leave, Kiyotaka looked up from his seat for all of a second. He could mention Izuku being off campus, but after his previous slip he was sure that they would have someone there to watch the kids go on their afternoon adventure. Plus he could expose himself by doing anything. He would do nothing this afternoon because he wouldn't jeopardize the plan that would take place the very next day. "So is that the forest?" Pony asked as they crossed the last street before they were by a small field that ended at a bunch of trees. "Yep, this is it." Katsuki nodded. "Past this is just forest for a good bit. I don't think there are really any towns for a good bit. So the unicycle bear is in their HMMM." Denki blocked the sun as he looked out to the trees. "What are our chances of finding him as one big group?" "I don't really think the demon bear exists," Tagaru stated. "But I doubt a group of 10 teens will be quiet enough to get a drop on it. Maybe we split up and look for clues," Ijiro offered. "Okay, Fred," Denki remarked. "This gang shall split up and search for clues indeed. I shall be the Shaggy of my group and Hanta is our Scooby-Doo." "I like it." Hanta made an impression of the named character. "Keep the dorks on one team." Tagaru laughed. 5 on each if we even split," Katsuki said. "Luckily we brought walkie-talkies." Hanta held up the set of 2 that he and Denki used to talk a lot. "Each team has one for communication." Katsuki took the offered device from the tape user. "Do we end everything with over?" Hanta asked as he turned his on. "I will drop kick you," the explosive blonde said flatly, but had a smirk grow on his face. "Okay, well I get to pick my team and I am taking Izuku because this is our childhood goal." He then noticed Shoko next to Izuku. "And Todoroki." "I got those too." "Well, we take Ijiro." Hanta poked the redhead, he claimed. "Nice." Ijiro nodded. "You can't separate us two," Pony said as she pointed at Mina. 2 for 1 deal." "Okay, so I take Tetsu and Tagaru," Katsuki replied. "Down with that," the insect-like teen replied. "We got our teams now," Denki remarked as he tried to walk away to the trees. "Away we go." "Wait, numbnuts." Katsuki grabbed the back of the electric blonde's shirt. "You won't know where to begin. We stick together for a bit till we get to the spot." 8. Denki nodded. "Lead the way. This path here will take us right to the clearing," from his story, the explosive blonde said as he stepped onto the worn dirt trail. "Keep your eyes peeled for the demon bear." "And his unicycle," Mina added. The 10 teens began to walk on the trail in a single file line. Katsuki leading with Izuku behind him, then Shoko, then Ijiro, Mina, Pony, Hanta, Denki, Tetsu, and last being Tagaru. They walked for a good minute in silence, just letting nature fill in the area with its sounds. "I haven't gone into a forest before," Shoko said to Izuku as they walked, moving alongside him to speak better. "I like how it feels. Everything seems normal." Shoko didn't know if that was the right word. The forest just had a feeling of normality to it. "My aunts and uncle have a cabin I spent a lot of time at," the clear-eyed teen responded. "It is nice there." Shoko immediately asked her next question without thinking it through. "Do you think we could go there sometime?" Izuku, thankfully clueless just like Shoko, didn't get what could be implied when he answered. "I don't think they would mind." Mina was about to say something, but Ijiro covered her mouth as a precaution. After a few minutes, Katsuki stopped once the trees began to make way for a small clearing. "This is it." The clearing was covered in mulch and had a dead tree near the center, most of its branches having fallen off, littering the area around it. Does the tree have anything to do with the bear? Tetsu asked as he stepped close to it. I don't think so, Katsuki answered. It is scratch marks, Izuku pointed out as he indicated to a few old claw marks. So it's the bear's scratching post, Hanta asked. Doesn't mean the thing is real, Toguro stated. Someone could have done that either to mess with people who believe in the demon bear's existence or just wanted to hit something with a quirk. Okay, if this bear really does exist though, should we split up? Pony asked. It could be more than some of us can handle. Doesn't help most of the strong hitters are on the one team. Tetsu added. Bakugo, Midoriya, Kamakiri and Todoroki can definitely knock it if it tries anything. Then we get 2 of you. One team has each of the Hardy Boys and 2 of the 4 Tetsu just said, Denki offer. That works, Hanta nodded. 8 Well, I can't take Bakugo to my team because he has the Wakayatake. How about take Izuku and Todoroki? Katsuki cut in. He didn't really want to separate those 2 since they were not more than arm's reach away since the group left the dorms. Okay, both of the normally quiet teens nodded. In return, I take the 2 love experts. The explosive blonde pointed Pony and Mina. We can find the bear's true love, Mina declared. Soothe the beast. We can bring him Pringles instead, Hanta offered as he held up a can of the chips. You brought Pringles to find a demon bear? Tetsu asked. I was hungry and this seems like an all-afternoon thing. Figured dinner was gonna be a late snack if anything. We could just get food after we get back into town, Toguro offered. Oh, I want sushi, Pony said the found she wanted. We are supposed to be finding an urban myth, not making dinner plans. Katsuki sighed. Why not both? Denki asked. We can get a good burger after we are done for the day. I would like a burger, Izuku added. 2 votes for burger. The electric blonde pointed at his classmate. How about we plan the food on the way into town after we are done? Toguro suggested. That seems too normal of a plan-making method, sir, and we don't do things like that here, Hanta replied. That bear is going to bash its head into a tree listening to us before we even see it, Tetsu stated. So let's find him to prevent that head bashing, Katsuki stated. My group checks around this side from the clearing and you guys check that side. Naturally, we get the west side. Hanta looked at his given area. West side is the best side. Denki nodded. We go onward, my faithful team. Hanta pointed to the trees. We search for clues like the mystery gang we are. But you are Scooby. He isn't the leader, Fred is. Alright, so who is Fred? Hiroshima, Denki suggested. He did say the line. But he is a redhead, so he can be Daphne. Isn't that Velma? No, Velma is the smart one with the orange sweater. Daphne had the purple outfit and the red hair. Does it matter who is who? Jiro asked as he grabbed a branch to carry. It makes things fun, Hanta said before looking at Izuku and Shoko. Who are you guys? I don't think they have seen Scooby-Doo Man, Jiro stated. Both Izuku and Shoko nodded to show they haven't seen the show and had no idea what the others were talking about. Alright, so I guess we just got Shaggy and Scooby here. I don't see anything of interest right now, Izuku said as he looked around. What besides the bear itself, if it even is real, would be a clue? Denki asked as he stepped over a large branch on the ground. Something like its kills, Jiro suggested. Actually, I would hate to run into a dead animal a demon bear didn't eat all the way or something. Yay, so not the hunt kills. Denki nodded. More scratch marks like on the tree in the clearing, Izuku spoke up. Definitely, Hanta agreed. It would possibly lead us to its place of rest, Shoko added. Suddenly the Wakayatake in Hanta's hand went off. First check in. You guys all right? Katsuki's voice came through with slight static. We are okay. Hanta put the device close to his mouth. We were discussing what could be possibly clues. Over. I don't feel like saying over every time. Katsuki sighed. We said tracks might definitely be a good sign of the bear. Luckily for the explosive blonde, Hanta didn't mess with him about the use of over. That's a good idea. We brought up more scratch marks and anything left over from it hunting. Although we agreed that second thing wouldn't be fun. Not at all. Denki shook his head. Well, everything is okay so far, Katsuki replied. We'll check back in after 5. Okay. Roger that. Hanta nodded as they 2 groups ceased talking for the moment. The group had stopped next to a creek while waiting for the conversation to end, and Shoko stood up from where she was crouched in the creek. She turned to Izuku and held out her hands, holding a large frog in her hands. I found a frog. She had a kind of blank expression holding the creature. They sometimes appear at the cabin, Izuku commented as he touched it. When did she catch a frog that easily? Jiro asked Denki and Hanta, who both shrugged. So does this bear really exist? Pony asked. Of course not, Toguro responded as he finished collecting the Matsutake mushrooms he found. It's just an urban myth, but those scratch marks are definitely something, Tetsu said. The best isn't real, but like Tetsu just said, those marks definitely are interesting. Katsuki nodded. Wait, so if don't believe it is real, then why did you lead a trip to find it? Mina asked as they all took turns walking over a knocked-over tree. Because I want to do every page of the journals me and Izuku had, and this felt like an easy thing to start with. The bear obviously isn't real, but at least we can say we had a fine afternoon of hiking looming for the thing. Yeah, but you had him go to the other team, so you aren't really spending time with him. I wasn't going to separate him and Todoroki. Those two are close, but not like whatever you are going to say, Mina. I wasn't going to say anything. The pink girl paused. Well, okay, I was, but now I won't. From what I have seen, I can guess those two have hard shells to come out of, but are a help to each other in getting out of them. Toguro offered his view. Yeah, I honestly doubt Todoroki would say more than her original greeting to us if it wasn't for Midori. Tetsu agreed with his insect-like friend, which is why I have been saying they have chemistry, Mina exclaimed. You guys are a few days behind me in my observations. Yeah, but you are trying to push the idea of them being a relationship. Tetsu replied. Who says their chemistry can't just be two very supportive friends? I know you have a point, but I disregard that point in the name of romance. We disregard your romance, Katsuki said as he checked his phone for the time. I think we should all meet in the clearing after a bit. He spoke into the Wakayataki. For S'mores, Hanta asked. We didn't bring anything for S'mores, Katsuki stated. Well dang, there goes the best part of the trip. It wasn't even planned, Katsuki stated. Right, anyways, you wanted us to meet back in the clearing, Hanta asked. Yes, perhaps half an hour or so from now. Hanta was silent for a few seconds, his radio not going off. Yeah, the peeps say that is cool. Alright, so half an hour and we regroup. Half an hour later, the two teams did find their way to the clearing. Katsuki's team just a minute after Hanta's. How did you guys find it before us? Toguro asked. Midoriya memorizes a lot, Denki answered. Led us on a straight path here. I just followed the directions from where the sun was, Izuku admitted. Todoroki caught a frog too, Ijiro added. It felt wet, Shoko added. She had let the frog go back at the creek, even if she wanted to bring it with her. We didn't really find much. Tetsu joined the conversation while holding a large stick he found. We saw a tree that looked like a low branch had been ripped off, but that could have been a storm or something. Is that the branch? Denki asked as he pointed at the wood in the Iron Teen's hands. Nah, this is just a cool stick. I have one too. Ijiro held up his own stick. So are we all taking back things from the trip now? Pony asked. The mushrooms are for Komori, Toguro said. I want my frog now, Shoko said quietly. She actually liked the frog while she was holding it. Izuku suddenly perked up and looked out past the trees, hearing the sound of movement. See something? Toguro asked as everyone saw Izuku's actions. I heard something. The clear-eyed teen replied as he tried to spot whatever made that sound. Everyone be ready, I guess, Ijiro said as he hardened just his arms. Don't throw anything in case it is just a random animal or a person, Katsuki stated. I don't see anything, Izuku reported. I heard something. Alright, so something is able to pull the sneaky on Midori, and I don't like that, Mina said. I low-key think we should all stick together now. Denki spoke his mind. I think that too, but Heike, Hanta nodded. Scared of a unicycle? Toguro asked. No, just teamwork makes the dream work, the electric blonde responded. Plus strength in numbers, Mina added. Alright, let's stick together then, Katsuki nodded. Watch each other just in case some weird-ass thing is watching us. He mostly meant everyone watch Izuku, having a slight fear of it being whatever was that thing that attacked Izuku a year prior, the day after he got freed from the compound. Do you see anything? Shoko whispered to Izuku from next to him, not wanting to throw off his searching. The clear-eyed teen scanned everything again in the direction he knew. He definitely heard something. I don't. It could just be behind a tree to not be spotted. Tetsu turned into his iron form completely. We could be imagining things too. Denki looked to the trees at their side. Izuku heard it again, an odd sound, and it was at their left, and the teen immediately aimed his hand at the spot he knew for sure it was. Rush it? Katsuki asked as he and the others all aimed where Izuku was aiming. All of us go full force at the spot and see who is there, Toguro asked as blades popped out of his arms. In a hushed tone, Izuku spoke. Wait for it to move again. Catch it off guard. Hanta nodded. A few seconds later, a new sound was heard behind them completely. Izuku was the first to react by jumping off of the guard in a high jump as he twisted to face the sound, firing a few finger joints at the source of the sound. Katsuki blasted off towards it with explosions from his feet, him destroying his shoes in the process. He blasted 3 different explosions at the tree, one from each of his hands and one from his left foot. Shoko made a wave of ice as she also slid forward on top of it, making the ice strike the tree as well. All of their combined attacks hit a single tree where the sound was behind, and they all saw nothing as they got ready again. Nothing? Ijiro asked as he looked at the ground. No, I heard something, Izuku stated. His senses wouldn't lie to him. He had firmly heard something, the same thing, all 3 times. There was definitely something watching them at that moment, and Izuku could feel it. Maybe we got worked up, Hanta said as he stepped onto the tree the kids had just knocked over. Ghost stories do that. No, I don't think Midoriya would imagine something 3 separate times. Toguro crouched to look at the ground by the tree. I see no tracks, but maybe whatever it was doesn't walk. He looked up at Katsuki. Well, something is definitely here, the explosive blonde said as he kicked a leaf off of his now bare feet. Do you want my sandals? Izuku offered. Then you would be barefoot, Izuku. I can make ones out of bone, Izuku pointed out. I guess. Thanks, man. Katsuki took the sandals as Izuku passed them to him. Okay, so I think I heard that thing also, guys. Pony spoke up. It was like a F-wash kind of sound. A teleporting demon bear, Mina asked. Well, maybe it jumped to a demon plane of existence to get around, Denki offered. Izuku looked out at the trees again and still felt like they were being watched. Something is here. Stay on our toes, guys, Ijiro said. I miss when it was just a unicycle. Hanto exhaled. Do you think it could be like that thing? Katsuki asked Izuku as he stepped next to him. He was referring to the thing that attacked Izuku the year prior. Izuku's eyes narrowed, not liking the idea of that villain that attacked him and Rumi last year returning. I don't want to. Well, we are definitely out here with something dangerous if Midoriya is on edge like this. Tagaru stood up and faced behind the group. Should we just call it for now? Tetsu asked. Or fight a bear thing or whatever is going on here? I think it would be really wise to call it for now. Katsuki didn't want to risk anything and he was technically in charge. Let's just carefully get the hell out of here. This was supposed to just be hiking around an urban myth, not fighting whatever this is. We all talked mad trash until it showed up, Hanta commented as he hopped off of the knocked-over tree. I don't think any of us were really expecting to run into an actual conflict, Tagaru responded. Izuku still felt that feeling of being watched as they began to leave. He couldn't tell where it was coming from in the forest, but it was somewhere around them. Kurogiri was not expecting to run into the child who had his loyalty at all. He was given the task to see if he could find an old failed experiment that his master left in this forest, and instead he ran into Izuku, Midoriya, and other kids who appeared to be friends or classmates of his. Kurogiri had made sure not to get spotted, but admittedly tried testing Izuku's senses by teleporting around the area, just to see if the boy was as sharp as ever, and he indeed was. Izuku and the others actually almost got Kurogiri when they attacked, his teleporting getting him away unnoticed. He felt compelled to follow the boy who had his loyalty to make sure he left all right, but knew AFO would wonder why this task would be taking him longer to do, and Kurogiri didn't want to risk Izuku's safety by letting AFO gain any idea. Kurogiri knowing his location or the fact of Kurogiri having mixed loyalty to the boy because of events at that compound. His true loyalty will be tested the next day if anything, and Kurogiri wasn't exactly sure what he would do when the time comes to make a decision. Once out of the forest, the kids still felt not at ease. It took getting 3 streets away to finally let them relax. Well, I think we are safe, no for sure, Denki sighed. I don't even think we were in real trouble. Tagaru kept his eyes behind the group. Either whatever was there was watching us, waiting to strike or trying not to be seen at all. It would have gotten us before we left. I don't feel it anymore, Izuku stated. Okay, so Super Senses says we are in the clear. Tetsu spoke. What if something is really there and it was just waiting for us to leave its home? Does help that we essentially threw the first hit, doesn't? Hunter remarked. We are here now with no threats to our safety as it looks now, Katsuki stated. Why don't we go get food and talk about it then? Food is an excellent idea, Denki nodded. Like I said earlier, and Midoriya agreed. Burgers. That's 2 out of 10 for burgers though, the leading blonde replied. Not a good basis for selection if only 2 of us pick it. I love that idea, so now it's 3, Mina announced. I like the idea too, Ijiro added. Okay, 4 out of 10, Denki grinned. 1 more and we have half of our votes. What do you want, Todoroki? Katsuki asked the girl who has been silent so far. I want the frog back, Shoko stated, still thinking about the frog. I don't mind a burger, Hanta stated. It will be quicker to get food, so I add to that. Tetsu added. If it helps, I know Olive that makes a lot of food and we could just go there and get what we want. Mina said. Could have said that earlier to save time. Denki said flatly. Slipped my mind. The pink girl shrugged. Well, let's go get food there then. Katsuki then poked Mina on the forehead. Guide us to the place, madam. While you lead us, I am going to tell Izuku-sensei that something was up in the forest. Yay, I am leader now, Mina chirped as she began to dramatically walk up the sidewalk. Follow me, loyal subjects. What have I done? Katsuki's sweat dropped at the girls' actions as they all followed her. Aizawa had a grin as he watched the kids leave the area to go get food. He had caught a small glimpse of the person who was in the forest, but not enough to know for sure who they were. He was proud of Katsuki for how the teen handled things, being the one in charge of the little trip the kids had. All of the kids really made him proud a lot, but he doesn't want to admit it and look soft. He knew they would end up great heroes in the future, all of them having good character and will. None of them knew how big of a challenge they would face the next day, and the consequences that followed. Sometime in the future, Izuku didn't move. His mind froze the exact second he had looked at his hands and fully registered what was on them. That was there because of Izuku. That silently screamed at the broken boy, the red liquid haunting him immensely just to look at for the few seconds that he had. It screamed a single word that destroyed Izuku. Monster. Izuku's hands began to shake and tears welling up in his eyes as the boy kept hearing that word over and over and over again. the word shattering down the last remnants of his mind as contorted and parallel lines of black markings began to spread over his body, all stemming from a mark that consisted of a circular pattern of 3 curved lines. The exhausted teen clenched his fist and screamed in frustration and despair, the teen finally reaching his breaking point. Back in the present, Izuku jolted up to a sitting position in cold sweat, breathing heavily as his mind began to register that he was just dreaming, having a nightmare of that compound again. He didn't move until his breathing steadied, and then he just exhaled. After that, looking at his window to see the pale moonlight coming in, letting him know it was still night, the teen stood up, not thinking he was going to sleep anymore, and went to be ready for the day. Moments later, Izuku came down the stairs, having taken a quick shower and put on his school uniform and scarf, to the commons. He was surprised to see another classmate down there at this hour though, his classmate Kamakiri. Kamakiri, the clear ed teen, asked. The insect-like teen looked up from his seat at one of the tables in equal confusion. Midoriya, what are you doing up? I couldn't sleep. I hate when that feeling kicks in. I just sleep a lot less. The insect teen took note of Izuku's looking anxious and decided to walk around it. I also gotta make sure this guy is eating well. He pointed to an aquarium with a praying mantis in it, the creature currently digging into the dirt of its home. What is that? Izuku asked curiously as he looked at it. He's a praying mantis. His name is Jack. Handsome, isn't he? Togaru took pride in his arguably favorite pet insect. He looks like he is praying. Izuku kept watching the mantis as it began to just walk around the aquarium to a stop in front of and facing Togaru. Yay, he's also a smart little guy. Togaru opened the top of the aquarium while holding a small cup that Izuku held a chittering sound from. Jack knows how to get his food by just tapping the wall when he wants food, but he is also picky and only eats live food. Live food. Togaru nodded as he flipped the cup and slid the top of it away to drop a cricket into the cage. Jack immediately taking notice and staring it down. Praying mantises really all prefer live food. It's the diet pretty much. Jack loves crickets the most. The insect-like teen explained as Jack rushed at the cricket. I mean, we all have food we like I like squid. I like pork. Izuku nodded. Pretty sure some animals like us too. Togaru shrugged. Anyways, before I begin a long rant about bugs, you good Midoriya, having night issues isn't something fun. I'm okay. Izuku had to think about it. Togaru knew Izuku only hesitated to figure out if he actually was okay. That's good. Gotta be on our game for today's class. Wanna bet what it is? Yaoyorozu and Ida said we shouldn't gamble. It's only gambling if we put something on it. At this point, we are just guessing competitively with no prizes. Okay, I think we might be doing something bot combat related, to be honest. The first class was the battle trials, so it just feels right that this time is something different. Rescue, Izuku offered. Togaru paused. That's actually a good guess. I didn't think that, but it definitely makes sense. Rescue is one of the most important parts of hero work. Footsteps were heard and the two turned to see Fumikage coming down the stairs. Can no one sleep today? Togaru asked. I prefer the dark hours, the bird-headed teen replied. It is unusual to see others awake as well. I'm feeding Jack. Fumikage didn't question that since he saw the aquarium where the named insect was eating. I see. Anyways, we're saying. Well, Midoriya said at first that the class today is rescue-related. Fumikage thought about that for a second as he sat down with the others. I can see that. So none of us are sleeping for the next few hours till class? Togaru asked. I don't want to, Izuku admitted. I don't feel tired, Fumikage added. Well, you guys want to try to beat Bakugo's high scores on his games to annoy him? The insect teen grinned. He left them down here. I do think it would be amusing to do it when Siro and Kaminari couldn't. The dorks just lack discipline. Once they focus, they probably could do decently themselves. I want to make food, Izuku stated as he stood up. You can join us once you got your meal done. Togaru pat Izuku's shoulder as he walked past. I'm going to leave Jack here for now, just in case he wants another cricket so I don't have to go up and down the stairs. Later on, the sun began to rise just 2 hours later, and following that the test of the class began to show up, starting with Tenya, who always promptly woke up at sunrise, and then Momo, who does the same, but just takes a moment longer to be ready. After that, people came more frequently down to the commons. I hate you guys. Hanta just gave a flat look to the insect and bird-like teens who had managed to break a few of the high scores of Bakugo's during their morning. Just mad we have skill. Togaru grinned smugly. Yeah, well, I don't know how to give up, Hanta claimed. And that breaks some record. Not after I take my ranks back. Katsuki sat down on the couch as he opened a water bottle. Bold of you to think you are getting them back, the insect teen replied. Bold of you to think you are staying on top for long, the explosive teen responded. Bold of you guys to not be wary of me, Denki added. Bold of you to think you can compete. Both Togaru and Katsuki looked at the electric blonde. Hanta gained a grin. Bold of. Okay guys, shut up. Kioka had an amused look at the joke but also annoyed of the repetition. We get it, you're all bold. I'm the boldest there is, Denki declared. I think I have that title, Togaru argued. No, I got that. Hanta disagreed. This will go on for a while. Kioka sighed while the guys began to go back and forth. I'm enjoying listening to it. Hiryu grinned as he kicked up his legs onto the table. Rin, take your legs off the table, please. Tenya almost immediately said. Damn, it's like he has radar. The teen sighed as he took his legs off of the table. A radar for disregard of proper procedure. Tenya responded. That thing must always be going off around us. Denki pointed at himself and Hanta. It doesn't even go off around us, Hanta started. It just says yes. It says Dumbass is located. Toguru laughed. At least it knows what we are. Denki grinned. Only guy I know to be proud of being an idiot. Kyoka looked at Denki. Ma'am, I was told it is best to love yourself, and love myself is what I will do. Alright, but don't love yourself in front of us. Hanta laughed. The electric blonde reacted by jokingly pushing his friend over the edge of the couch while the tape user continued to laugh. Ha, so funny. I don't get it, Izuku said in confusion. I don't either, Shoko admitted. You two aren't explaining that one, Katsuki said to Denki and Hanta. We told you too about making those jokes in front of them. Kyoka sighed. Those jokes are immature. Momo added. It's not my fault, he just makes it that easy. Hanta pointed at Denki. You said it this time. What does it mean? Izuku and Shoko both looked at Tatsu. I don't want to explain their dirty jokes, the Steel Kid replied. Okay, the clear-eyed teen accepted that. On the way to class, which was 30 minutes earlier than usual for the others but now normal for them, the class had nothing exciting really happen and had a quiet walk to class. Upon entry to the class, they found Aizawa writing in a journal at his desk. The man turned to his class once he heard them. Early as usual, the teacher asked, If we always do this, is it really early? Tatsu asked. It is for everyone else. The man replied. We are just built different. Hanta grinned. Everyone is built with those off-brand Legos while we are the real deal. Denki stated. Only you would jump to calling us Legos. Kyoka responded. That's how built different he is. Katsuki joked. Midoriya. Shota got his students' attention. Majima says the gauntlet is ready to be picked up. The clear-eyed team lit up instantly at hearing that. Really, the excitement Izuku gained made Shota smile. Yes, we can go get it now if you want. Everyone saw Izuku stand up in a flash, before he looked slightly embarrassed at how quickly he had stood up. Yes, please. He tried to downplay his excitement while turning red. The ever-tired-looking man stood up as well. He said he wouldn't be there in his shop but that it is waiting for you there. He walked around his desk. I have a key to get it. Izuku didn't say anything else as he followed his teacher out of the class. Shota felt no need to tell the class to behave while he was gone because they had proven themselves good kids, even if some did joke around lightly. I swear he just flashed to standing up man. Hiryu commented on how quickly Izuku stood up. I mean, I can't blame him. I'd be excited too, Toguru said. It was so cute how excited he got, Pony exclaimed. Shoko couldn't help but subconsciously agree with that. Just as weird as it was the first time the two had gone to the support department, it was just that much more. This time people seeing a genuine smile on Shota Aizawa's face, something everyone had considered impossible before this moment. The man simply was happy for his student, whose excitement was just as odd to everyone who thought by now that he was just an emotionless boy, them not seeing his growth over the week with his class. Shota actually decided to say something on the way to the support department. Midoriya, I once was actually in an internship with your father. Izuku looked at his teacher with a surprised expression. Really? Yep, my second year here at UA. Myself, he took me as an intern. I worked at his agency for the rest of my time at UA. The man liked remembering the time back then as an intern. Asashi Midoriya was a man he truly respected. He helped me improve my capabilities with my scarf. What was Dad like as a boss? Izuku asked. Great. We all respected him and he saw the best in us at the agency. He was a good teacher, tough when necessary and always helpful. Izuku had a light in his eyes as he listened to his teacher talk about working under his father. At one point he actually managed to talk a villain into giving up after the villain managed to take down half of us. Shota recalled. He told us that not every villain is a villain at heart. That sometimes they are just scared good people who don't have the ability to see their other options. Really? Yep. He said that it is one of the most important parts of being a hero to help everyone we can, including those people who just fell down a wrong path. Shota paused to open the support department's giant metal door that was locked beforehand. To me, I only see the true villains as those who know all of their paths and options and still take that wrong path. I will stop the others, but I make sure to let them know that they have the better paths too if I can. Because Spitfire Sensei would have as well. Izuku nodded hard, understanding the lesson Shota took from the clear-eyed teen's father. Shota went to the back where the storage and gear was and unlocked the door to enter and look for where he was told the gauntlet would be, Izuku following the whole time. The teacher yawned as he looked over the shelves before finding it after a second. Here it is. He picked up the case carefully before handing it to Izuku. See if it fits before we leave. Izuku nodded as he took the case, placing it on a table in between the shelves and opening it, seeing the piece of gear inside. The glove of orange-trimmed green metal had been repainted, with a new bold white line separating the colors. The slots where nozzles and cords and pipes had been readjusted and fixed to perfection, as well as holes on the knuckles on the other end of those slots. The clear-eyed teen quickly put it on, the gauntlet slipping on easily and was able to be fastened to be on him perfectly, like it was just another part of him. The teen looked at his teacher happily. "It fits," he said louder than he meant to. Once again Shota's smile got bigger, the excitement and happiness from his student being that infectious to him. "That's great." Izuku looked at the gauntlet and suddenly a new memory was regained. Danaded, the 4-year-old Izuku, quickly said his father's name as the man returned home from work. "Izuku, Izuku, Izuku." The man returned his son's energy, happy to see the boy. So the little hero successfully guarded the house. "I was awesome," Izuku declared. "When do I get to be a real hero though? I want to be a hero and work with you, Dad." You're a little small right now. I can get bigger, for sure." How about this?" Hisashi said as he took off his gauntlet and knelt down towards his son, putting the large gauntlet over his son's arm that was too small to wear it normally. "When you get a gauntlet that fits this arm is when we are gonna be a duo." Deal, Izuku nodded eagerly. The clear-eyed teen looked back at the gauntlet and began to tear up. Midoriya Shota noticed the tears and suddenly got hugged tightly by his student. "Thank you," Izuku said quietly as he still hugged the man. Shota nodded and put one arm around his student. "I'm glad to help. All I'm saying is that I can totally beat that wet paper bag in a rematch." Denki finished his rant. Hanta had one hand cupping his chin and scratching it. "I see your point. However, what if the paper bag is no longer wet?" The electric blonde blinked. "Well shit, then I lose. So therefore the paper bag is stronger." Hanta nodded to himself. "If it is a plastic bag, even I would lose. We would all lose, to be fair." Denki stated. "True." The tape user nodded again. "Indeed." The electric blonde nodded as well. "I can't believe I listened to that whole debate." Katsuki sighed. "Neither can I." Tetsu sighed. "It was pretty funny though." Tagaru have chuckled. "I think I could take plastic bag though." Pony decided to keep the conversation going. "What are my chances?" she asked Hanta and Denki. "Depends," Hanta began. "Do you have anything sharp?" Pony grinned as she pointed over her head. "I have horns." "Okay, so the odds might be in your favor," Denki stated. "Indeed," Hanta said in a mock upper-class voice. Indeed. Denki gained his own mock upper-class voice. At that moment Izuku and Shota came back and the class actually got heavily surprised by a rare sight. Izuku had a large, genuinely happy smile. The clear-eyed teen no longer had the gauntlet on and had it back in the case. "Class." Shota got their attention as he walked to the front and pressed the button that opened the slots on the walls that had their hero suitcases. "The class with all might is the first thing we do today. After that is done, you will have shortened lessons of the rest of your classes. You can choose not to have your hero suit on, but I'm pretty sure you all will take them. Suit up and wait for me outside of the front doors of this building." "Where are you going?" Teach Denki asked. "The site for the class is on campus but on the edge. I am getting a bus to get us there since this campus is way too big to just walk back and forth. Yeah, and skinny legs might get too tired to be able to walk back." Tagaru joked about Denki. "You're just jealous of my beautiful thighs." The electric blonde stuck out his tongue. "I never want to hear you say you have beautiful thighs again," Hanta stated. "Chicken leg looking ass." Tetsu commented with snickers from the other guys. Shota didn't comment on his students teasing each other. "Anyways, I should have the bus there in 10 minutes. He left the classroom. Well, let's get this bread, fellas." Hanta grabbed his case. Izuku grabbed his case and Katsuki approached his friend. "So you got the gauntlet, man?" the blonde asked. Izuku nodded happily. "I like it. Can't wait to see you show it off, man." The blonde grinned as he grabbed his own case. "Oh, definitely." Tetsu agreed. "I think the only other gauntlet here is Bakugo's, right?" The silver-haired teen looked at the explosive blonde who nodded. "Yours do something right, I forget. They store my sweat for big explosions that I can't make off the bat myself. Mine takes my flames out through it," Izuku added. Hiyatoka was in the back of the group and didn't leave the classroom till he sent a single message, an update to the plan saying that it might have to start a bit earlier than expected. Once dressed in their hero suits, all of the kids were outside in the designated waiting area. "Geez, Midoriya, that gauntlet looks nice," Ijiro commented as he looked at the metal piece of gear. "Imagine this guy with his super strength just punching you with the thing." Tagaru added. "Mina jelly." The pink girl joked about it. "What would that even taste like?" Tetsu asked. "Did you just ask me what I would taste like?" The pink girl turned a shade of purple, the color the pink girl turns when blushing. Tetsu got embarrassed. "I didn't mean that, forget I asked. If I was a jelly, I think I would taste like G." Hanta mused. "You'd be soy sauce." Katsuki added his opinion. "Dunno why, but you give the vibe." "Oh, are we all condiments?" Pony asked. "If so, then this guy is mustard." Hanta pat Denki's shoulder. "Why mustard?" the electric blonde asked. "My redness could make me ketchup, so duo," Ijiro stated. Hanta pulled Denki to him while narrowing his eyes at Ijiro. Get your own best friend. He ended it with a dopey expression to show he was just kidding. Am I mustard based solely on my hair? The electric blonde asked. That's why I'm ketchup. The redhead nodded. So what is this blonde supposed to be? Kioka indicated to Katsuki. Paprika, Denki answered. That's red, numbnuts. Toguru had a flat expression. Will you be salt for that attitude? The electric teen retorted as he stuck his tongue out. Our conversations always go everywhere, I swear. Hanta laughed. Our codenames shall be our condiment or whatever we be, Denki declared. So am I soy sauce or G jelly? Hanta asked. Soy sauce, Katsuki answered. Then we got mustard, ketchup, salt. I want a new name. Toguru had a plain expression. No, Hanta made an X with his hands. No can do, buckaroo. Yea, we all get one and keep it. Would it be right to call Takoyami chicken? Pony asked. I do find it humorous. The bird-headed teen nodded to show he had no problem with it. At that point a bus came rolling around the corner and to a stop in front of the kids. After a second the doors opened with a hissing sound and showed their teacher in the driver's seat. It should only take 10 minutes at most to get there, Shota announced as his students began to board the bus, which is enough time for us to finish getting new names. Ijiro spoke as he sat down in between Pony and Tetsu in an area of the bus where the seats faced the middle, the back half of the bus having seats face the front. I wanna say G, Kioka stated. I think with purple hair I should get it. Okay, so she has G. Hanta rubbed his chin in a thoughtful manner. I declare Ijiro to be Simba. Simba the tailed teen looked confused from his seat next to Ochako in the front-facing seat. That's Lion King, not food. Yea, but your tail. The newly named soy sauce defended his naming of the teen. I did make us go from condiments to actual food. Having animals also doesn't seem off. Fumigage, or now chicken, reasoned. Wait. Denki made a timeout motion with his hands. We could have gotten animals as names and I get mustard. That's a stupid name. Then you're Pikachu, Katsuki responded. The electric blonde blinked before nodding with a grin. I'll take it. Damn, I want a better name now. Hanta snapped his fingers. Home Depot Spider-Man, Tetsu offered. They were silent for a second before Hanta burst into laughter, a few of the other kids joining in. I love it, the tape-using teen said in between laughing. It's amazing. So Pikachu, Simba and Home Depot Spider-Man so far. Katsuki smirked. Man, imagine the villains' faces when they hear you are coming to stop them. Don't forget we got a chicken on our side. Denki pat Fumicage's shoulder next to him. A formidable team. The bird-headed teen had a smile. We totally have to make those our hero names, Denki said to the other three. I dunno if we really could, Hanta stated. Official names are kinda taken more serious. Plus I already had a hero name idea. Mashirao admitted. Ooh, what is it? Hanta asked. Actually it was Lion, since my tail is a lion's. The tailed teen explained. Dude, that's cool, Tetsu commented. Makes you sound fierce. I was going to use Froppy. Tsuyu admitted. It's cute, I like it, Katsuki said without really any thought. Do you have one? Tsuyu asked without missing a beat, while still turning slightly red. Actually, I was stuck between two names. One was kinda a joke from a while ago and it would be Dynamite, like All Might. I also thought of Fuse since I am a bomb and also my own fuse. The explosively Quirk teen explained. I like them. Ribbit. The frog-like girl nodded. Unseen to the two, a certain pink girl was narrowing her eyes at them and muttering about a type of science that can also be used to term the relationship between people and compatibility. I was going to use Red Riot, Ijiro declared with pride. Awesome name. I was going to go with Real Steel, Tetsu added. Not Iron Man, Denki asked. Nah, gotta be my own thing. The Steel Quirk teen responded. I haven't outthought into a name yet, to be honest, Huryu admitted. Guess everything else just made me forget. Same, Toguru nodded. You'd think with how early we have been doing half of everything we would have thought about names already. And to think we only got to thinking about our hero names because of trying to name ourselves after condiments. Kioka snickered. I mean, didn't we get to super moves because Yaoyorozu threatened to eat an encyclopedia at me for being a smartass? Hanta asked. I'll still do it, Momo joked. I wonder what that would feel like. Katsuki mused. Getting an encyclopedia chucked at you. That knowledge can hurt, man. Denki added. You know what knowledge feels like? Hanta asked. What's it like? I don't remember. The electrical teen responded with a grin. I got hit with an encyclopedia once. Izuku spoke for the first time since they got on the bus. You did? Tenya got surprised. Why? It was an accident while I played Monopoly with Rumi and my aunts and uncle. The clear-eyed teen answered. How does that happen? Kyoka looked confused. Rumi says we aren't allowed to talk about it, and Aunt Shino also says we can't play Monopoly anymore, Izuku stated. Damn, that actually sounds kinda wild, Tetsu admitted. Me and Toguru were banned from playing Uno in our middle school because it got out of hand. Because Yakima is a little Toguru got cut off. Yea, it's best to not bring it up. Tetsu cut off his friend to prevent a long, angry rant. We should all play Uno. Denki stated. If I plus for you, I don't want to hear crying. Kioka smirked. Joke's on you, ma'am. I will cry because I am not above it. He cried yesterday when he saw a cat. Hanta added. It was cute and chose me. The electric teen defended himself. The cat chose Todoroki, you dingleberry. Katsuki had a flat look. We had this discussion yesterday. She didn't even want the cat though. Denki pointed at Shoko. I wanted the frog. The fire and ice girl replied. Ribitsuyu got confused. Frog. Oh, Todoroki found a frog and got attached to it. Hanta explained. It just hopped into her hands. It was a nice frog. Shoko commented. Isn't Isui a frog? Denki asked. Maybe she can help find it with frogness. First off, Tenya sighed while pinching his nose. Isui is a person. Frogs can be people too. Denki defended himself. Frogs matter too, man. Hanta pointed at Tenya. Shoko looked at the frog-like girl in the seat across from her. Can you tell me about frogs? Ribbit, was Tsuyu's verbal response while she nodded. Now that I think about it, Hiryu started to speak. I might actually have a deck of Uno at the dorms. Once we get back, we are playing Uno. Denki announced. Class bonding. Can you really bond playing Uno? Katsuki asked. No, Toguro stated dryly. You make enemies though. Mina laughed. How do you play Uno? Izuku looked at Shoko next to him, who looked equally confused. We can teach you guys. Hanta have a thumbs up. Well, rip our class being awesome and together. Tetsu laughed. Is it that bad? Izuku got worried, not getting that they were joking. Nah, it's fun, but some people might get annoyed. Mina waved her head reassuringly. The bus stopped at that point and the kids all saw a huge domed building on their passenger side. We're here, class, Aizawa said as he stopped the engine. What be this? Hanta poked his head out of his window to look while the kids began to get off the bus. Tenya was the first off the bus and read a sign that was right off the road in front of the building. Unforeseen simulation joint. So this is USJ? Katsuki asked. You already know this place, Tetsu asked. I was interested in rescue stuff here that they teach. The explosive blonde explained. Izuku had a wide-eyed expression as he looked at the building. A happy expression too. My aunts and uncles took me here once while they trained. He remembered the one drill he was a part of that they did in the zone he believed was called the Ruined Zone. Ah, cool, Denki remarked. So rescue stuff today. Shota nodded as he got off the bus. Today's class is a series of rescue simulations. However, let's go inside and meet your other instructor for this lesson before it is explained. So I was right this morning. Toguro gained a smirk. What kind of rescue simulations exactly? Hiryu asked as they all followed their teacher. Imag disasters, Tetsu guessed. I mean, it is called the unforeseen simulation joint, so that makes sense. Kioka nodded. Kiyotaka felt just the slightest bit nervous as he, the last one to go through the main doors, walked into the building. However, he knew the plan and would stick to it. The kids and their teacher stopped in the area right inside the door that was right before a long staircase that led down to a central plaza with a decently sized fountain. The entire building was one large domed area that was entirely open, and they could see 6 different areas that all seemingly looked like one disaster or another. They could see what was easily a medium-sized lake with a decently sized ship on it, what appeared to be a small city area in a dorm that was dumping a storm inside of it. There was a second city area in a dome. That was red this time, so it could be assumed there was fires inside instead of a storm. There was also an area that was a giant mountain. Another area was also mountainous somewhat, although not as much, and looked like a landslide hit it. The final area looked like a city area that was in ruins. This place is nice. Katsuki whistled as he looked around, amazed at the sight of the place he had studied before, but seeing it for the first time was actually different than reading about it. Thank you, a voice got everyone's attention. Everyone looked to see the pro hero number 13. In her signature astronaut-like suit. I have put decent work into making this place as state-of-the art as possible. Number 13, Ochako suddenly squealed with excitement, actually shocking Hiryu next to her. You're the greatest rescue hero. I want to be a rescue hero because of you. Everyone was surprised at how fangirl-like the gravity quirk girl had become suddenly. And I thought Toguro acted nuts with bugs. Tetsu joked. Ochako turned red, but number 13 laughed. It's always nice to see a kid who wants to go into hero work. I look forward to seeing you become a great one. At that, Ochako turned even redder from the praise. So what do you got for us, Sensei? Katsuki asked as he clapped his hands together, rubbing them as he did. Right to it. Aizawa did say you kids have a lot of drive. The woman smiled under her helmet. Shota looked around and noticed a missing person. Where is All Might? Number 13 held up 3 fingers, which went over the heads of the students. He has to deal with a timing issue. He overdid things, she explained. He will be here soon. Shota sighed, realizing his kids were more prepared than the number 1 hero. That man is irrational sometimes. Is that city actually on fire? Pony asked with a raised hand as she pointed at the one zone where it did indeed look like that. That's the conflagration zone, Katsuki answered. It's for large-scale or even small fire situations, like getting people out of burning buildings. Oh, you know about the zones? Number 13 asked. The explosive teen rubbed his head. I kinda studied USJ, because I think rescue work is really important. That is true. Rescue work is sometimes the hardest and can sometimes be the most stressful part of hero work. From natural disasters to villains, this place is made from my experience after years to help you heroes to be and anyone who reads training to improve and be prepared as best they could for any situation. Because not all of our quirk are straightforward stuff with rescuing work. Tetsu nodded. I mean, my turning to steel isn't exactly a quick rescue work tool. Or my scales. Haruyu agreed. I could tank free with a full coat of these and that's useful, but on a boat I would have to think more strategically. The scales are also more conductive of electricity, and explosions I doubt are gonna uncollapse a building, Katsuki stated. But being able to move quicker with explosions can help me maneuver quicker before it collapses. Number 13 looked at Shota next to her while the kids all began talking. You were right, they do tend to take the conversation and teach themselves exactly what the lesson is. Shota gained a smirk from the pride he had in his students. They are smart kids with potential. Number 13 actually blinked several times. She had been told by midnight about how Shota viewed his class, but it was still weird to see for herself how much pride he had in others for once. Electricity definitely wouldn't be useful on a boat, or a hurricane, or a fire, or a dam. Am I just useless everywhere? Denki groaned. I mean, if a power outage happens, you are a king. Hanta offered. Sometimes electric lines can get cut and take a while to get up and running. You'd definitely be clutch there. Plus, some of our quirks can be bad if we overdo it, especially in a rescue situation. Haruyu added. Like my scales can cut someone. I could accidentally send someone to space. Bakugo has explosions, and I think that is enough said on where the risks could be. People go boom. Katsuki nodded as he answered simply. Number 13 called everyone's attention to her. You all actually went over most of what I wanted to say, especially quirk control. Some quirks can be extremely dangerous if control is lost. For example, my quirk black hole. It allows me to replicate a black hole suction effect from my fingertips. The suction is very powerful and not even light can escape it. Anything sucked into the black hole is disintegrated into dust. If I lose control, I could very well accidentally pull and disintegrate civilians. Like Dark Shadow needing to sometimes be reined in also. Fumikage added. My bones could hurt people, Izuku said quietly. I make blades on myself. I think I might be one of the biggest cases of be careful with my quirk, Tagaru claimed. Nah, I think Mr. Boom Boom has you beat. Denki shook his head. Was I just called Mr. Boom Boom? Katsuki asked. Even carrying someone might not be best for me. Ijiro added. When I harden I get kind of sharp. Number 13 liked how they didn't need her to guide them all the way through her lessons. They would be great to teach. Exactly. Always know your limits and the risks of too much. It could cause harm to you and to others. So we should never go past that limit. Then what's the point of the saying plus ultra? Tenya asked. There are times when limits should be crossed, as long as it is in the name of good and you can handle the risks. Number 13 felt like asking Aizawa if she could teach the class from time to time. She was liking how they tried to think everything over. Pushing your limits to go farther into your hero work is admirable. Shota started. However, even people like All Might have limits that aren't always good to cross. It is a matter of time and place to push your limits. Before we begin the exercise today, I should only have a few more things to say. Before number 13 could finish, everyone saw a swirl of black mist appeared below the stairs at the central fountain. Pony and Izuku both actually jumped at the sound of the mist appearing, recognizing it from the day before as the sound the thing watching the kids in the forest. Seeing Izuku immediately get on edge sent the rest of the class on edge, as well as everyone looked down at the plaza. The two teachers got into fighting stances as a large amount of people came through the now confirmed portal. The first person they saw was a young man with pale skin and cyan-colored hair. He was covered in several severed hands, the most noticeable being the one covering his face. Under the hands he had unkempt black slacks and a long-sleeved shirt of matching color, with red shoes as his footwear. As more people came out of the mist, the most imposing one was quickly made to be a large being with a physique that matches All Might's. The being had black skin, a beak-like mouth that was twisted into a grotesque expression, and its actual brain was exposed to the air around it. It stood almost like a statue next to the man with the severed hands all over him. However, even after that imposing figure was something else entirely. A grotesque humanoid-like bear that had several large scars all over itself and a feral look in its dark red eyes. It had enlarged claws, was missing part of its jaw. The thing was held in place by the massive bird-like person who wasn't even fazed by having to hold the bear-like creature with its own massive hand that was wrapped around the bear-like thing's neck tightly, forcing the creature it had unlocked to a bent position. Looks like our information was spot on, the young cyan-haired man with the severed hands all over him stated. He looked up and narrowed his eyes at the class and teachers who were tensed up. However, there is no All Might. For now, that is all right. It gives us time to get the other half of the quest done. Shota narrowed his eyes as he heard that. All Might being a goal of the villains of course seemed like a likely thing. A good majority of these people all seemed like petty thugs to just have numbers. Those were the type of people who would of course think that more numbers means they could take down All Might. However, the other thing they were here for was what bothered the man. They had inside information, meaning a mole was at UA, and came specifically during 1AS class, and only one thing came to mind when he tried to think of what else they could be there for. Izuku. That thought of villains after one of his students, especially Izuku, made Shota grit his teeth as he immediately had his goggles on. 13. Class is over. Get the kids out of here while I buy time. Got it. The woman nodded. Wait, Tagaru argued. We can't just let you. You kids have years before you should be worried about me. The man cut off his student as he rushed down the stairs. Aizawa is capable, but right now I have to get you kids out of here, Number 13 said. She pressed her hand to a headset and cursed a second later. Damn, they are blocking signals out of here. I have nothing either, Denki said as he tried his own headset. We are going to the main building to make sure you are all safe while hell is brought. But Izuku had a panicked expression as he realized why they were there. They were there for him. Those two things looked almost like that one from the year before, the one like a vampire who was sent to steal Izuku's. They were there for him again, and everyone else was in trouble because of him. Those things. Katsuki immediately put a hand on the clear-eyed teen's shoulder to attempt to keep him from panicking. We can get back to the school and get help really quickly. Half of us are fast as hell. The only kid who didn't move to follow number 13 was Kioka, who instead took to going over his task again mentally. Right then, before number 13 could get to the main doors, the mist appeared in her way and the man made of the stuff appeared, his yellow eyes locked into the teacher while a metal piece, almost like a collar where it was in the mist. Kurogiri ignored the feeling in his from being so close in proximity to Izuku, his flowing faster and making him feel more energized than ever. He took to looking directly at the teacher. Greetings, we are the League of Villains and have business here with All Might, or might he be? Up your ass was Katsuki's response as he blasted at the man, as well as Ijiro, Tetsu, and Tagaru, who all four went for body blows immediately. Kids stopped, the heroine said in vain as all four hit the man at different points on his person. Their attacks were in vain as all four went through the man from the angles they had attacked, each attack being a miss. What the hell? Tagaru scowled as he rolled into a low attacking stance, ready to jump back to the villain. He has no solid body, Tetsu announced. Please let me speak instead of rashly attacking an unknown. Kurogiri was just glad Izuku hadn't attacked him, sure that the kid would have actually been able to quickly find his weakness. We simply have business with All Might and one of you. The clear-eyed teen hadn't attacked because he had frozen in place from realizing that he knew this man, who he had met a year ago at the compound the night he escaped that hell. A swirl of mist appeared in front of him. Please step through the mist, a voice said. If you want to get back at them, that is the way. The boy didn't hesitate to jump through the mist, ending up in the hallway outside of his containment room. Why was he here? Why was he a villain? He was with the people who had the thing from last year that stole his. Why would he save Izuku at the compound then? Before Izuku could fall more into panicking over the situation, his head began to sear in shocking pain and his vision became splotches of black and white, one of his mental glitches happening at the worst time, and in its worst severity yet. Izuku fell over, clutching his head and screaming, bones spontaneously bursting from his upper body. Luckily, no one was close enough to actually be harmed by the bones. Midoriya Hanta, the closest person to him now, yelled. Kurogiri suddenly felt his begin to burn painfully and realized now why his was having these reactions around Izuku. Because of the boys he had in him, it reacting to the original owner of itself. He had to move forward with his task before the completely overwhelmed him. Without a word, he opened portals underneath every student, with only exact spots planned for 4 of them as the plan was. Watch out, Tetsu pushed Denki out of the way as he fell through a portal. Shit, Tagaru cursed as he fell through the portal underneath him. Izuku Katsuki yelled as he was taken by the portal underneath him, not prepared to get away from it. I got him back. Hugo Hanta tried to reassure his classmate as he made sure to go through the portal their currently not mentally stable classmate had fallen through. Hanta had no time to get Izuku back, so he at least went to watch over Izuku. Kioka was the only kid who didn't panic as he kept his eyes on Shoko, his task during this involving her. Kids no number 13 panicked as 17 of the kids were all now gone, the only 3 still there with her being Denki, Huryu and Pony. Kurogiri's felt like it was on fire now, the seemingly just knowing how Kurogiri knowingly sent Izuku to what was a bad situation down in the plaza. However, he ignored it as best he could and looked at the last 4 people with him at the entrance. Where did you take our class? Huryu immediately shot multiple scales at the villain, all going through him with no effect. They are all here, in the building. None of you are allowed to leave, Kurogiri answered as his cooled down. Number 13 got ready for a fight. I am getting these kids out of here. Pony, Denki, and Huryu all also got ready to fight, all hoping that their class would be okay while they tried to get help. The ruined zone. Mashiro landed through his portal on top of one of the collapsed building's rooftop, just a foot of a drop through the portal. The tailed teen had a hard and focused expression as he looked around him, hoping to spot someone else. After a second, he noticed someone just off and below his building. "Uraraka," the tailed teen shouted as he rushed down to get to his classmate, sliding the last bit before making his tail dig into the ground to stop himself. Ajiro, the gravity user, sighed in relief as she saw her classmate. "Did you see anyone else?" Mashiro asked. "I floated down, but I saw no one else here," Achako replied. "It's just us, but there are villains here and they saw me. Then we have a minute or two to prepare ourselves and fight. I want to help the rest of the class, but we are near the middle of our zone and have who knows how many villains in between us and them. We have to stand our ground until help comes." "Right," Ochako nodded. The mountain zone. Tenya managed to roll as he hit the ground to land without a beat into a knelt position and got right to his feet, not missing a beat to scan his surroundings. If that villain teleported the whole class, it would make sense to keep them contained in USJ, and that made it likely someone would be in the same area as him. "Is anyone here?" Tenya shouted. "Right here, punk," a villain shouted behind the teen as he was about to hit the teen in the head, Tenya having almost no reaction time. Thankfully for the engine quirk teen, the villain was attacked and knocked out immediately by a classmate of his from behind. Ada Momo said with a breath from swinging the staff she had quickly created. "I don't know where anyone else is. We have to stick together and find them," Tenya stated. "How is finding them going to work out with us here?" A voice made the two turn and see a group of 7 villains, the one in front having silver lines running up and down his body. "Yeah, Arazu, I think it's time to put all of this week's training to use." Tenya had a hard expression as he faced the villains. He was not happy to have this happen, especially when he connected the dots that Midoriya was a target of these people. He had to go make sure his class was all okay, and this interruption didn't leave him in a good mood. "Show us that famous UA. Education." The silver villain sneered. "Get them, fellas." He waved a hand as the villains behind him moved forward. The flood zone. Ijiro crashed into the water like a rock. Luckily, he had the foresight to activate Harden, so nothing happened as he hit the surface of the water. After a second, he opened his eyes and was glad he kept his quirk going as a shark-like villain had rushed him and attempted to bite down on the red-headed teen hard with his massive jaw of sharp teeth. The villain immediately regret his decision as half of his teeth cracked from the excessive force he tried to put into biting the kid, only to fail. Ijiro quickly retaliated by slamming a fist into the shark's face and kicking himself away to swim back to the surface, which wasn't as easy while he had his quirk activated, but at this point he saw deactivating his quirk as a bad idea in case someone else tried to bite him. Suddenly, Ijiro was grabbed by his calf and yanked towards and completely out of the water. He barely had time to catch his breath before he landed with a thump on the deck of the boat in the flood zone. Kirishima Kyoka's voice got his attention as he coughed out water and took a breath. "Ribbit, sorry Kirishima if I scared you." Suyu apologized as her tongue, the thing that had yanked the redhead from the water, shot back into her mouth. "It's fine," Ijiro sighed. "Got me out of the water quicker than if I did it myself." "I didn't see anyone else," Asui, Kyoka stated as she put her earphone jacks into the boat's deck. "But I do hear a lot of movement in the water. A villain like a shark tried to make me his lunch." Ijiro got up. "Wait, why aren't they here on the boat either? They must be staying in the water where they work best." "Ribbit," Suyu guessed. "It would make sense that they went to the zones that they would do best in. They also might not exactly know what we can do if they let you come here," Asui, Kyoka added. "No way would I send the girl with a quirk that works great eye water to the zone that is a lake. They were here when we were, so they had to have known something," Ijiro remarked. "I mean, what that guy said about their business with All Might and someone here made it seem like that." They were all quiet for a second before they all connected the dots. "They want Izuku," Ijiro shouted. "They are probably trying to finish what that guy who kidnapped Midoriya didn't finish and make Midoriya a weapon." Kyoka didn't want to imagine where Izuku was at that point, just hoping he was okay. Izuku is having one of those episodes of his and is defenseless. Ijiro felt panic. Zero was with Midoriya. Suyu remembered the tape user going with Izuku. "Guys, as much as I think we should worry about Midoriya, we also have this situation here to worry about," Kyoka stated. "At any moment we could have those villains rush this boat or sink it. Both aren't good." Ijiro clenched his fist, not able to shake concern for any of the other kids in 1A. "Right, they got this too. Everyone is smart and can handle themselves. Yay, Ribbit, let's make sure to do the same." Suyu agreed as they all began to make a plan. The conflagration zone. Tagaru had not as much luck as the others when it came to his portal location, having his open up 30 meters above one of the streets of the fiery conflagration zone. He saw only one other portal open as he fell and was glad to see that it was up right on a rooftop, so Kanoko, who he knew it was by seeing her mushroom-like cap, at least had a soft landing. The insect teen made a grimace as he made a plan to land safely, or at least safer. He stuck his hands out as far as he can and made blades burst from his palms that jammed into the side of a building and began to slice through it as he fell, leaving long slices in the building as he began to slow down. The teen had more blades in his hands to jam into the building as he kept falling and swung his legs forward to make even more blades slam into the building at an angle to effectively put the brakes on his free fall, jolting him as he thankfully stopped just a few meters above the sidewalk. Togaru let out a breath as his plan, a poorly thought out plan if he was honest, worked. He released his blades and dropped down to the ground, wiping his forehead as he realized how hot it was in the zone of a simulated city on fire. He considered himself lucky that his path sliding down the building had no fire on it. Looking up, he guessed that Kanoko was going to not stick to the roof and actually come down to the street, so he planned to meet her halfway. With that decision, he went to the front door of what looked like a diner or whatever, kicked down the door, and entered the building to find his classmate. The downpour zone. Katsuki landed softly due to his portal being right ground level with the middle of the street in the zone of heavy rains in a simulated city. It had to be in rain. Katsuki scowled, feeling pissed at being separated from Izuku, knowing damn well that these villains were after his friend. He couldn't even work as well in the rain because of it messing with his ability to sweat. He looked up and down the dark street and stopped when he saw an approaching set of two figures that made him relax slightly. "Am I glad to see you here?" The explosive teen spoke as his classmate got close. "It is luck that I am here in this zone." Fumigage spoke as Dark Shadow kept watch around them. "Had I gone anywhere else, I wouldn't be able to cover you in a zone that negates your quirk. And yours is boosted thanks to the dome and darkness here." Katsuki agreed as he indicated to the dome that kept this area in a simulated nighttime. "You already know what I am going to say, right? To power through the enemies that step in our path as we find Midoriya." Fumigage nodded, having also quickly figured out the villain's intentions, and his knowing how protective Katsuki was definitely made the plan obvious. "I agree to the idea of finding Midoriya. However, I also don't want to lose control of Dark Shadow before that, so we can't go full speed. Let's just go as quick as that allows." Katsuki cracked his knuckles. "I have to save my friend." The landslide zone. Kyotoka's feet were already on the ground as he was teleported to an exact location that was pre-planned for him to go to. The landslide zone where he would be expected to carry out his part of the plan. There would be no villains here in the zone. The only thing out of place due to the villains even being here was a box placed there by Kurogiri that had a single syringe that he was to use, and the box was right in front of Kyotoka, who opened it immediately to grab before he was caught with it. A thud told him that someone had landed from a portal near him, and he put the syringe in his pocket. A second thud happened and it threw Kyotoka off, especially at how metallic it sounded. First part of that confusion was due to there only supposed to be one other person in the zone with him. Why was there a second person? Did Kurogiri mess up? Either way, Kyotoka wouldn't let it interfere with his task. Once again, Kyotoka was thrown for another loop as the sound of ice got his attention, and he saw Shoko slide down from a higher point of the zone on her ice. She dropped down on the other side of a hill, and he realized not only did Kurogiri mess up and have a third kid there were two kids who shouldn't be there. Damn it. The kid scowled as he made sure the syringe full of the serum was in his pocket safely before making his way to the others. Glad he had a gas mask in for his hero suit to conceal his expression. Todoroki, he heard that idiot Tetsu shout. Ashido, well, now he knew who else was there. "Is it just us three?" Mina asked right as Kyotoka walked over the hill into view. "I am here also." The teen announced his presence. "Is Izuku here?" Shoko asked, like Kyotoka guessed she would. That's why she was chosen actually, because she and Izuku had that supporting friendship. He figured his leader would have chose. "Where even are we?" Tetsu asked as he rubbed his neck. "One of the zones." "Does that mean that everyone else is in the other zones?" Mina asked. "With those villains in the plaza, it makes me think that we actually have an issue with them being in the zones also," the steel quirk teen stated. He went to go up the hill. Kyotoka had just come over and made a sound of thinking. "Okay, so we have to definitely go find the others. Staying here is not smart." "Yeah, we have to help them." Mina nodded as she followed him. Kyotoka saw an opportunity in that moment with the two others facing away from Shoko and quickly pulled out the syringe and put it into the left side of her neck. The fire and ice user yelped in pain, causing the other two teens to whip around. Tetsu activating his quirk as he did. "Akitmitsu." Mina gasped. "What the hell?" Tetsu snapped. Kyotoka gave no response past pulling out his revolver, this time loaded with real bullets, and shot his pink classmate, Mina, falling backwards from the shot. As much as he would have preferred shooting the steel teen a few times, it wouldn't do good to not take out the easier threat first. Ashido, the steel quirk teen, exclaimed in shock as he saw his classmate shot. Shoko held her neck as she screamed in pain again, and her mind went blank as she fell unconscious, unceremoniously falling to the ground. "I am sick of playing this part," Kyotoka said as he activated his quirk, the gas spreading out in a large cloud. He didn't have to worry about Shoko in this fight since the serum knocked her out, and he would be gone before she would be awake. So his only problem was the steel teen in front of him. Tetsu had covered his face with his hand quick enough to not breathe in any of the gas as he shot a hateful look at Kyotoka. The bastard just put God knows what into Shoko and Ingshot Mina. I'm going to kick your ass. Tetsu growled through his hand as he got ready to fight. The plaza. Izuku hadn't recovered from his mental glitch when he fell through his portal. Hitting the ground like a brick, he banged his head and made a SC appear. Midoriya Hanta flinched as he dropped through the portal next to his classmate. The threat of the bones gone at this point. What are you two doing here? Shota panicked as he struck a villain and looked at his two students. Portal guy Hanta explained as he quickly got up and ready to fight. Damn it, Aizawa cursed. Of course that villain who seemingly teleported every villain there would also make sure no one left. If he had to guess, the other kids must have also been thrown around the building. Midoriya had a head pain. Hanta added as he saw the enemies around him and realized that he and Izuku were surrounded by villains. Shots cursed his luck again as he took notice of Izuku, who was holding his head hard as he tried sitting up from where he had fallen to the ground. Izuku having a head pain here wasn't good timing at all. Ah, Midoriya, you are here. The cyan-haired man with the severed hands on his person said. Master wanted me to give you a gift. Izuku's eyes finally gained back focus as Hanta helped him stand up, the clear-eyed teen looming confused as he realized where he was in the plaza. He turned to the man who spoke. Leave me alone. That's a Nikando. I was given this quest by my master. However, you have fight in you, so I need to do something about that. He turned to the bird-faced giant next to him that had the bear creature held by its neck. Namu, make the thing look at me. He ordered the bird-headed thing now known as Namu, and it silently obeyed by lifting its hand to force the bear-like creature to face the man. Is that the fricking demon bear? Hanta murmured as he actually took a look at the thing. Listen, you shit. The cyan-haired man pointed at the bear. I know you have intelligence and understand me, but would rather go do whatever in that forest that bear Namus do. But before that you have this quest to do. He raised his hand to point at Izuku, the bear's eyes following the hand to lock its gaze onto the clear-eyed teen. Fight him with the force and tire him out. Namu, let go of it. He made sure to step back just in case the bear Namu, one of the earliest made Namu who had a bear as the base, had any idea of attacking him. The other Namu letting go of its neck. The bear Namu growled at the man ordering it around, but then looked at Izuku before standing on its hind legs and roaring at the teen before rushing at him, with speed that was hard to actually keep track of. Izuku quickly pulled a bone out of his arm in the shape of a blade and tried to stab the bear as it got close, his bone instead shattering and the bear reacting by swiping a massive set of claws through Izuku, the force sending the teen away, hitting the ground twice before crashing into the fountain. That bear Namu has a quirk that makes its skin tough and virtually impossible to scratch, let alone pierce. The hand-covered man announced. It was picked to be your opponent because it opposes half of your abilities and has the highest defense stat of my party. Midoriya Hanta shouted as he tried to hit the bear that was close to him, only for the thing to not even look at him as it swung its arm backwards into Hanta and send him away without concern. Damn it, Shota cursed as he pulled out the knife he had on him to deal with the bear. No matter what quirk it may have, nothing can avoid being erased by Shota's own quirk. Eraserhead, I would worry more about your other student, the head villain called out, making Shota realized a few villains had taken the opportunity to attempt to attack Hanta. Shota hated the situation and cursed for what he knew wouldn't be the last time anytime soon, and made the decision to help Hanta first before getting to Izuku. The tape-using teen thankfully had the ability to be able to dodge attacks as he used his tape to tie the villains' legs together and trip them up. Don't worry about me, sensei. He didn't want to be the reason the villains got to Izuku. Hanta was going to out everything he had into stopping any part of their plan. Shota felt relief as he remembered just how skilled his class had shown to be in just the last week. He had to have faith in the teen who was showing that the faith wouldn't be misplaced. Right, he went to help Izuku deal with the one Namu. See, no, a 2 versus 1 fight isn't fair, the cyan-haired man remarked. Namu, stop Eraserhead from helping Midoriya. The Namu was immediately gone with speed as it rushed at Aizawa, who had little time to react and was just barely able to dodge a massive fist being brought down on him. Shota grit his teeth as he now had to deal with this instead of helping either of his students. With Izuku, the teen had no moment to catch his breath after being launched into the fountain before the bear was on him, slashing the teen again with its claws. The teen ignored the pain as he made bones erupt with force from his and pushed the thing off of him before he inhaled a breath and began to release his fire. If he couldn't pierce its flesh, he would then just burn it. Even that proved useless as the ear just roared and rushed the teen through the fire and began swiping its claws at him faster. Izuku dodged and kept moving back as he made bones in the shape of a hammer to swing at the beast with all of his strength, the weapon breaking as it also sent the bear meters away. The teen took a breath as he took notice of the fact that his fire wasn't completely useless on the beast, the top layer of its skin in several spots actually missing now because of it. Izuku put the pipe connected to his father's gauntlet in his mouth as he thought through several ideas of what to do. He didn't get enough time to think of which to use as the bear was already charging back at him. The teen went on the defensive and kept dodging every attack he could as he took a large breath and breathed his fire into the tube connected to his gauntlet, swinging it into an uppercut as he did to burn the bear's jaw as he struck it, jarring the beast before the teen followed the attack with another fist of fire from his gauntlet, knocking the thing onto its back. The clear-eyed teen gasped as his throat regenerated itself from the use of his fire. He kept his gaze on the bear and had a frown as the thing had very little damage done from the 2 attacks. He quickly made a spear from his bones and tried to shove it as hard as he could through the thing's lower jaw, but the bear regained its bearings and slashed the bone weapon, cutting it into pieces with its claws. Izuku got ready to breathe fire again, but was thrown off as he was stabbed in the back with a knife. I don't want some freak of nature leaving this place alive, a villain. A man with spiky black hair and red eyes shouted as he tried to twist the knife in Izuku's. Damn it, the cyan-haired man cursed as he saw one of the things he had brought attack the brat his master wanted. Did this low-level grunt really think he stood a chance against a higher-leveled enemy like that kid? He didn't necessarily care to stop it, but now the brat would be paying attention to outside forces, which made giving him the serum even harder. Izuku made a bone erupt from his back and impaled the villain through his shoulder, before he disconnected the one from his body and twisted into a kick aimed at the man's head, hitting his mark and knocking the man out from Izuku's strength. The teen didn't even have time to remove the knife from his back before the bear attacked him with a downward swipe that forced Izuku headfirst into the ground. The clear-eyed teen quickly rolled away from another attack, twisting the knife in his back as he did, which caused him to wince. He made a bone sprout from his back at an angle to force the knife out as he grabbed the bone and made it shift to a blade as it left his body and swung it at the bear with the flat side, striking its side and knocking the bear to the side from his strength. Izuku wasted no time before stabbing his blade into the ground and jumping into it and then higher up, using the blade as a jump pad to gain altitude, and spun into a right hook with his gauntlet flaring intense fire. Striking the bear in its jaw with the scorching flames, Izuku felt a crack, meaning he had done soul damage to it that meant something. The bear reeled back and roared in pain from its now broken jaw. Namu, the man covered in hands, shouted at the beast, who had finally managed to deal damage to Shota, breaking his left leg and its calf. Get the kid before he kills the bear. He knew that the teen would probably beat that shitty bear, but he needed the kid more exhausted to be able to even want to get close with the serum. Izuku got ready with another breath that he would put through the gauntlet at the bear to finish it, before he was hit in his with too much force and blown into the fountain again, crashing back first into the middle and cracking the stone as his vision blurred for a second. Izuku's instincts kicked it and the teen quickly moved despite not healed all the way and narrowly dodged another attack, now knowing that it was the thing called Namu that was attacking him. Izuku took his breath quickly and rushed at the Namu and struck its side with full force as he expelled the flames, gaining surprise as he actually blew the side of its torso clean off and brined the scars from the attack. He had assumed it also had tough skin, but apparently that wasn't the case. He was about to leave this thing to die from the wound before it suddenly started regenerating at a fast rate and the torso was back. The Namu attacked before its side was completely healed and brought its fists down in an attempt to crush the teen. Izuku pointed his fingers at the Namu and began to fire off his finger joints in rapid succession as he dodged the strike and went to keep distance from the thing. He kept at this until his instincts went off again and made the teen jump as the bear attacked the place Izuku had just left. The teen quickly pulled another bone from his body in the shape of a large hammer and swung it at the Namu that jumped through the air in pursuit of the teen, striking its side and sending it away towards the edge of the plaza. The teen landed in sound as the bear attempted to attack him again and swing the bone hammer into its side as hard as he could, hearing a crack as it was knocked off of the ground and thrown into the now half-destroyed fountain. Izuku let go of the hammer and took a breath as he was making too many bones in the short time. His healing rate had slowed down a bit as well. I have to say, the man with the severed hands on his person started just a few meters away from Izuku. I had doubts that you would be as good of a party member as Master said, but seeing you fight off the two Namus, who have high stats for even pro heroes to deal with, is pretty interesting. Why are you doing this? Izuku asked. My master believes you would be a golden member of our squad and wanted to give you a gift as an incentive to join us. Izuku didn't get the chance to respond as his instincts shot off and he back up in a jump to dodge the Namu, who had returned with no injuries. While Namu might not have thick skin to avoid being stabbed like the bear Namu, he has regeneration that might even be superior to yours and strength that is superior to All Might's, the man explained. Izuku breathed into his pipe again and swung his fist into the arm of the Namu as it tried to hit him again, the teen blasting off its arm at the elbow and sending off flames that burned off half of the Namu's face and upper. The Namu gave no reaction except to slam its still intact right fist into Izuku and sending the teen crashing into a bench behind him and dropping over it. Namu, destroy that kid's gauntlet. It's too high-powered of a weapon. Izuku tried to get up, his instincts screaming at him to move, but he had impaled himself of part of the bench as he crashed into it, and it gave the Namu the opportunity to slam a foot into Izuku's, cracking his ribs and pinning the teen to the ground. The Namu raised its other foot to slam onto Izuku's right arm and his gauntlet, and the teen attempted to struggle. No, the clear-eyed teen yelled as made bones erupt from his and impale the Namu's right foot several times, to no reaction as it slammed its left foot down and crushed Izuku's arm and broke the gauntlet. Izuku screamed in pain as the broken gauntlet stabbed into his arm in too many spots to count. The teen glared through his pain at the Namu as he made a tongue of his Midoriya flames shoot out and wrap around the thing's neck before he forcibly tugged and made the Namu fall forward and off of him. Before the Namu could react, Izuku jumped up, keeping his flaming tongue-like whip around its neck, and twisted to use the Titan flaming whip to begin burning through the creature's neck. He would have kept going until its neck was all the way burned through if not for the bear returning to the fight, be striking him in his back with enough force to make his lose his whip and be thrown forward off of his feet. To be able to overpower the Namu meant to handle All Might's strength. The man scratched his neck as he spoke in amazement. "Your stats are insane." Izuku dodged the bear's continued onslaught as it kept trying to rip him apart, the teen noticing how his wounds were getting slightly worse with his healing slowing down, his staining his ripped outfit, and he was now aware that he was missing one of his sandals. Not that it should even be a concern at this point. His right arm was broken and still needing to heal from having his gauntlet broken into crushing the arm. He was being pressed here with the bear and Namu having seemingly just as much energy as him and strength that was draining his powers more so than normal people would. He had to find a way to get rid of them in a way that would make it quick. Izuku got an idea at that moment while dodging the bear. The one Namu only did what was told of it, so just take him out should work. Luckily, that man seemed to want to stay close, so Izuku didn't have to go far. He just needed a second away from the bear. Izuku wanted to hurt that man for making his gauntlet be broken a lot. With that goal in mind, Izuku dropped low before forcing a blunt and large bone from his fist as he raised it into another uppercut to hit the bear in its jaw and knocking it to its side again. The beast hissing in pain from Izuku hitting its broken jaw. Now that he had the window, the Namu still healing from Izuku almost destroying its neck, but getting up and moving made the window smaller but still there. Izuku rushed at the man, raising his broken gauntlet in a sort of vengeance to the beloved gear as he attempted to slam his fist into the man's face. The man had little time to react and raised his arms to defend himself, grabbing onto the teen's scarf and gauntlet as the teen struck the man in the severed hand that was placed on his face. The Namu had reacted quickly and struck Izuku in his side and sent him several meters back, hitting the ground 3 times before he stopped and weakly struggled to his knees. Og, the man groaned as his nose was broken, sitting upright from having been knocked off his feet. "You little bastard," he grabbed the hand that had fallen off of his face and cracked. Izuku looked down at his hand as it felt lighter and got shocked. His gauntlet was crumpling to dust. No, he panicked as he tried to grab the piece of his father's legacy that just fell through his fingers. "My quirk lets me destroy anything I touch. Think before you rush an opponent," the man said as he stood up. Izuku looked down at his neck in fear and saw his scarf also disappearing, his piece of his mom's life fading away. His eyes began to tear up and a sob broke through his pained breathing. "Crying over a piece of fabric?" the man asked. "Maybe next time don't." Izuku snapped to look up at the man who took away his only possessions of his parents and put the people he cared for in danger. The amount of hate in his eyes made the man stop talking as Izuku took a breath and spoke. "Tessenka no mai Hana." Izuku began to enter one of his dances as his entire left forearm got encased in multiple bones, all twisting around and making a drill-like shape that ended in a sharp point, the back end going well past Izuku's head and ending in a knotted design similar to that of a flower. A spike jutted out of Izuku's right palm and spiked bones formed on his bare back, his Haori having been lost during the fight. Izuku's eyes stayed on the man he wanted to rip apart and he got ready to attack. Dance of the clematis flower. Oh shit. The man definitely felt like he was in danger. "Namu, get the brat." The Namu rushed Izuku, and in response the teen made an angry scream as he charged the beast, his bone drill spinning at an insane speed as he swung it in a large arc and jammed it into the beast, tearing it apart with force and making the beast fly away like a rocket as he kept running at the man, his eyes having not left his target. The man prepared to fight what was a mismatched fight before he suddenly fell through a portal, one that dropped him far away on the edge of the plaza next to Kurogiri. "Kurogiri, what the hell?" the man snapped despite being relieved that the teleporting villain just saved him from a doomed fight. "2 of the kids have escaped," Kurogiri stated. Sounded like he had just recovered from his own fight. "Has the curse mark been applied to Midoriya yet, Shigaraki?" Shigaraki just pointed at the teen who had to stop chasing him once he had fallen through the portal and was fighting the Namu and Bear Namu again. "Does it look like I got it in him? Perhaps it would be best to use a portal to quickly inject him after he is stunned by one of the Namu," Kurogiri suggested. "Get ready then, he is an annoying little shit." Izuku rammed his drill into the bear and kept pushing as he attempted to tear through its seemingly impenetrable skin, only causing the beast to be sent flying by the spinning of the drill. He scowled as he dodged to the side of the Namu who came at him and jabbed his spike from his right hand into its before bringing his drill into its right shoulder, tearing the arm off as the Namu swung its only arm left into the teen, who ignored the struck as he kept pushing the drill into the creature, trying to just take away the thing's neck by pushing it against the side of his drill. Before he could finish the process of killing this beast, the bear Namu interrupted again. Izuku's premonition quirk warning him as he twisted his drill off of the bird-faced Namu to slam into the jaw of the bear, actually tearing it off in the process. Not even able to think about a follow-up, the bird-like Namu's arm regrew and it used both hands to clap Izuku, striking him on his back and simultaneously and stunning the kid before it grabbed Izuku and pulled his right arm and the spiked bone in his palm out of it. Before Izuku could react, it bent his forearm quickly and snapped his forearm in half, making the boy scream before it swung him by his broken arm into the ground back first, making the teen lose his breath completely and drop his dance of the Clematis flower form, the bones falling off of him and turning to dust. The Namu picked Izuku up by the top of his head, the teen too out of it to fight back at the moment. Midoriya Hanta yelled as he got to the area. Having helped Aizawa brace his leg to keep fighting, they both just finished off the petty criminals and got there at that point to help the teen. Before anything else could happen, a small portal opened up right in front of Izuku and Shigaraki's hand holding a syringe came through, injecting it at the base of Izuku's throat, making the teen gasp in pain as the contents flooded into his system. Namu, Shigaraki ordered. Restrain the bear like earlier. The bird-faced Namu wasted no time in letting go of Izuku, who managed to stay standing and grabbing the bear by its neck, who had not moved from the ground where it had fallen when Izuku tore off its jaw, the beast not even struggling but still alive. What did you do to my student? Shota snapped. He was beyond pissed right now. He had not been able to defend either of his students in the plaza, and instead they had to fight their own battles. He was relieved that Hanta had shown to be clever enough to use his tape and agility to fight multiple opponents. That was just a gift, Shigaraki stated. Glad he finally got the mark on that damned kid so he wouldn't be a nuisance anymore. At that moment, Izuku coughed up and held the area where he was injected with the syringe. He suddenly felt intense pain in his entire body, all focused on his heart and where the injection happened. He clutched his in pain before falling to his knees and screaming in pain before falling over, his eyes glazing over as everything went black before he even hit the ground.